G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute and Badges is acting stunned again. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
I'm tired.
Good.
You know I'm tired. I am very tired. I didn't get a good sleep, so yeah. But Algared is I don't know, away clubbing seals, or I don't know. I don't know. I have to make up something really heinous that he's doing. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. But he can't make it today. So you're kind enough to step in, but I don't think you mind too much because that gives you a chance to get up to some shenanigans.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here.
So we're gonna have a look at the St. Patrick's Day sale, or I don't know. It seems a bit lackluster to me. It's one day. And you get green skins. Woo! So we'll have a look at that real quick, and hopefully ISC pops up. I've just reminded myself I've got to start the bot, so I'll do that anyway. And that should be now running. And I'm gonna do this little thing. This is the worst thing about doing this stuff live. You've got to your brain farts.
Yeah. Hey Feathers, hey Del.
All good. And that cool. Alright, so the bot's up and running, so any of you guys want to do your questions, hey Del, Feather, nice to see you guys. So yeah, we'll go through ISC hopefully when it pops up as well. We'll go through the St. Patrick's Day sale. I don't know, might even talk a little bit of world events too, because you haven't been there directly yourself, though, but you've been seeing some of the fallout, with your job, because you work at the Coast Guard and stuff, don't you? A little bit, so.
Yeah, and I was working directly with the Ukrainians on their bid to join NATO in 2007. So, yeah, I have friends there that I sincerely hope are all right.
Yeah,
but no news yet.
Yeah, no, I've heard. I've talked to some people that have had family there, and they had to get them out and stuff like that, and they had to spend a fair bit of money to get them out and stuff. So it's not a good state of affair over there, I'm afraid. And it looks like it might have. Well, it is. It's being felt everywhere, isn't it? In a way, like
Yeah.
I can only talk from my point of view, but I know a lot of the fuel prices here have doubled essentially. And I don't know what it's like for the rest of the world, but yeah, whether you agree with it or not, because we do actually have Russian people in our community, and some of them are backing Putin, so that's fine. And you got to realize people lived in a place like that, and they grew up there, so they know things that we don't, and vice versa. So yeah, just I think we'll all agree that killing and war is bad. We'll leave it at that from that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I just hope everyone gets out alive, so to speak, and I just hope there's not an overflow, because some of the obviously doing the stuff we do with the a professional point of view series, like some of the military guys are a bit worried, and it very well could, if you understand the political climate at all, it very could easily overflow into World War III, which would be. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, because one of the discussions I had, and this is where I put it, and I'm going to just put the word out there, nukes. I actually think that if anyone threatened to use a nuke, that's where it would escalate rather quickly. And I actually think, I wonder how much sensible heads would prevail. Look, would people step up to stop people sending nukes because of the retaliation? Actually, I've wondered this for quite a while, like because of the Cold War. So I asked you, like, because this has been a thing since the 50s. Oh, nuclear wars come and get under. Do you remember the duck and cover stuff?
Yeah.
So from your point of view, how realistic do you think that is? Like, do you think cooler heads would prevail in that situation? I just asked you your 2 cents.
I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, kind of the only answer we have is I hope so. Because the alternative is almost too terrifying to to contemplate. Get my words right. It's one of those things that we have to hope that the concept of mutually assured destruction hasn't been diluted to the point where people think it's not going to happen. Because we're all poised. Everyone's got a strategic deterrent ready to go that already has nukes. Ourselves, the Americans, Russia, and various other nuclear-equipped countries. that won't end well. I think I don't think it's going to be pushed that far. I think if anything, what we're probably we would likely to see is the onset of another proxy war. So it'll be
like another Cold War, is that what you're saying? Essentially,
yeah, almost kind of Russia and the US having at each other through other countries. Russia will directly affect the Ukraine, so America will supply arms not just to the Ukraine, but maybe to other areas that Russia has interests in the side against Russia, and just that general tit for tat stuff until one side runs out of money or interest. But yeah, I don't know. I can only hope at the moment that, I mean, Zelensky appeared on camera, I think, yesterday or early this morning, saying that he believes now that the peace talks between the Ukraine and Russia are becoming more realistic. So, if he's saying that, if anyone's got a reason to be kind of skeptic, it's him. So, yeah, here's hoping. I'm watching with interest because my recall, my full-time recall thing doesn't go for some years yet. So I could still be recalled in the event of a major conflict.
And I went to the wrong one.
As could many others.
That's the one I want to go to. Yeah, so I know. I hope everyone's cooler heads prevail. That's pretty much where I'm at. And some of the military people I've talked to, they're like, when military people are sound a little scared, I get a bit worried. But one of them and I don't say this to be an asshole, but one of them did put me at ease and said, you're probably in the best place in the world if a nuclear war breaks out, because I'm in the middle of I'm at the arse end of the world, away from everything, on an island. So yeah.
The great news is, to change this over, ISC has literally just dropped.
Oh, cool, sweet. Well, we'll look at this and then we'll go into ISC. But
cool.
It makes me wonder. Like, I'm looking at ISC, not ISC. I'm looking at Invictus, and you know how they've got Alien Week after it, but they don't sell any Origin ships. I'm wondering if this is the bringing the Origin stuff in is a response.
Becoming the Origin.
So you get all of it, but kind of spread out across it. So that was my thing. I do find that this is literally the ghoul skin that they sell at Halloween just for other ships. I find that really weird.
Yeah. I mean, props for CIG that for finding a shade of green that doesn't make me instantly want to vomit. Good job on that front. But otherwise, it's a skin.
Oh, the thing is not here at the bottom where you can change your location. So apologies for the Australian pricing for everyone, but just take 10% off. So instead of 66, it's 60. But really, there's not a lot here, man. There really isn't. I went through and picked up the skins. So my trick that I do, if you want to save any of this stuff, is I pick it up and then I melt it 24 hours later. So that'll give me the opportunity to go back and get it at a later date if I wish to do so. So that's what I do. So I've picked up those. Do I like them? No, I do not. I think they're pretty crap, honestly. They're green. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of green.
I just wish you'd stop sitting on the fence and say what you really thought.
Well, that is what I really think. I just...
Yeah.
Like, how simple are the skins? Why aren't they why isn't there a really cool pot of gold with a rainbow and a leprechaun down the side of the 400i or something like that? A little bit of effort would be nice. But yeah, I think the big one would have been these for people. Did they actually come with LTI? Let's have a quick look.
No, I remember reading something about that you're only getting 6 months out of them.
Oof. Yeah, that's
yeah.
That's off as off.
That's not a great place to start, but
yeah, I don't understand why.
The War Bond one also includes, even the War Bond is only 6 months.
Yeah, so I would have avoided that personally. I've always found this time of year a little weird. I don't know what you guys think in chat, but yeah, I just spending that amount of money. I'm me and Algared, and I can hear Algared in the back of my head just straight away. Like, if you're spending money on this game, it should come with LTI. I just don't understand why they haven't done that, because they're obviously using LTI as a tool. That's why. But yeah, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. All right, we'll crack open the YouTube. Favor the bold, I believe this is it. Now, can you hear this, Badges, or not? You probably can't.
I might have to watch mine alongside you, mate.
That's right. I will redo the stream to work for you. Hold on. Application inside Star System. There you go. You should be able to hear it now. And now I've got to open this again and then full screen it. Here we go.
Got it.
I think we all can agree that looting was definitely a great addition to Star Citizen. I love that players are exploring and looking for interesting stuff around the universe.
Love this guy's accent.
For 3.17, loot is going to be much more exciting and valuable for all the players. Up until right now, players got the same loot in different locations, so you could go to Korea or a cave or an outpost and potentially have the same content. For 3.17 though, we are changing that, and now we are tailoring the content for each location.
Just gonna pause it here. Do you remember when they were talking about how they could actually tailor this before? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So they can actually like even pick, like, so if it's a pirate location, it can actually have like the pirate loot. I think that's what they're bringing that back up, because they did actually say when the first one came out that wouldn't be in the first iteration. So hopefully that's what he's talking about here.
The other addition,
I hope so.
because up until right now, all the content was considered common content that you could even buy in shops. We are now adding the concept of rarity. We have 3 different types of rarity, so it's the common one, the uncommon one, and rare one. The uncommon one is going to be items that are not available in the shops anymore. For example, security armor or pirate armor, it's content that it's specific for a group of people. In order to make rarity a viable option, it was always intended to remove some of the items from the shops. And the rare items definitely are the ones that are going to be more exciting for everyone, for sure.
Can you tell he's reading off a second monitor? He keeps looking up to the top left like he can tell he's reading. Anyway.
We are very keen into spawn only a little bit of them, but rare items, we are applying more or less the same philosophy with ships. So eventually rare items will end up in the loot pool and can be found in different lootable crates.
Dell makes a good point in chat too, that they're removing high-end gear from stores to put in loot crates. Like, again, they're trying to force you to go into those areas, and that's going to piss people off. Especially if the gear that's taken out of the shop is their favourite piece. But
yeah, I mean, they've certainly said there that what we're losing is stuff belonging to security services, is what he specifically mentioned. So things like the Defiance tactical stuff that I know I see a lot of people wearing it.
Yep.
It's also worn by the ArcCorp security guard, so that's going to go. Same with the Hurston, which is fine for me, because I quite like doing the bunker security missions, letting the pirates kill all those guys and then nicking all their armor. So yeah, whatever.
The other big thing though is, like, see all these plants and stuff. This is all going to be sellable now. That's a big thing too. So like all this shit before that did nothing is now all of a sudden decently valuable. I don't want to say valuable, but decently valuable. It's worth something.
Obviously, with looting becoming such a big feature in the game, we kind of need an ability for you to sell the loot that you've been acquiring this whole time. To do that, we're going to be updating the shop system and item shops with a brand new kiosk that will have a much improved user experience that will allow you to sell your various items. So for 3.17, the system determining what can be sold where and for how much is going to be very simple. Basically, if a shop... Okay, this is important to me, because this particular kiosk, every time I go to it, fails to load for me, right? But that means that's the UI rework is in. Because look,
That whole interface has changed.
Shiny.
Oh yeah, good. Oh, thank God. That's all I can say.
Sells an item of a certain type. They sell guns, they sell ship parts. You can then sell to that shop items of that type.
Ah, so you're gonna have to still travel though.
The pricing will be as follows. It will start at 90% of the price that the shop sells it for, and depending on their current inventory, it will fall down to 50%, with 50% being that they are absolutely full on that item. If they do not have that exact item in their inventory, you will default down to 50% because, frankly, they don't really want to stock that thing anyways. Rarity, of course, will come into play for this, but basically the base prices of items will help to determine how much they sell for. There has been a small pass to just kind of update some of these prices to fall within line of the fact that certain items now can't be found in stores, and certain items are going to be very difficult to find in the boxes throughout the world. And of course, the Pico Balls will be the most valuable item in all of the persistent universe.
Yeah. Why do I get the feeling that Disco made him say that? And it's not true, but why do I get the feeling? Anyway.
Possibly.
Included in this is when you are selling something with attachments, you can, on the spot, go through and detach those attachments in the selling interface so that they don't get sold. Let's say that you're trying to sell a sniper rifle and you have a really nice scope on it. You will see that when you go to make that transaction and be able to say, oh, actually, I want to keep that. One problem that we are aware of in all interfaces that deal with items of this type is stacking. The stacking system in personal inventory and in now this shop screen, which uses the same stacking method, means that it can be a little annoying to move large quantities of the same item. We don't have an immediate perfect solution for that where we can stack items that are identical, but in the short term we did a little solution where there's just a quick sell button on each item in the list. Fair warning to all of you, there is no buyback button at this time, so if you sell something, it is gone. Be careful. And of course, with inventory, where we want it to go in the future, we want it to be that as you are selling these items, it is affecting the inventory of the store so that it is becoming more and more that other players can then purchase. We're not clear as the time of this recording if that's going to make it for 3.17, but that is definitely a goal going forward.
So it looks like going forward, there's going to be a lot of quality of life improvements need to be done on this. So they're going to need a lot of feedback, I reckon. Like, because you know when you click on it at the moment and you buy something and you can go I want to buy 5 or 10, or you can click the max button. I'd assume that something like that would happen, but in the reverse for selling in the long term. That's just where my mind goes. So yeah.
And I love the fact that they've added that screen that allows you to remove attachments that may be attached. That's kind of shows a little bit of forethought and planning, which is nice.
Yeah, good foresight, that's for sure.
Be monitoring both how you guys are using this new kiosk and how many things you're selling in order to help balance both the amount of loot and how much each piece of loot sells for. We also are very interested in any feedback that comes in for the user experience of that selling, so please let us know how things are going. We are listening, and this is going to be something that we're going to be very interested in making a better and better experience as time goes on.
The advancements in loot generation and implementation of selling are two key aspects of any MMO, and their arrival in Star Citizen heralds a continuing push to reward players for venturing out into that dangerous unknown to seek their fortunes. And because the unknown can be so hazardous, let's take a look now at the current state of medical gameplay, what's being adjusted for Alpha 3.17, and what's on the horizon after that.
So the response to healing was quite heartening.
There was some really good community engagement around the feature. I remember at one stage on Reddit, I think it was even before the feature was released, someone had posted a survival guide, and it was just really cool to see how excited people were about the feature.
It's a really expansive system, so there's lots of different parts, and it was a lot to sort of get everything working.
It was great to see that people were happy and excited about various aspects of the healing.
The medical bed UI in particular, which is the main thing I worked on, has a lot of depth to it in terms of adding to the feeling that it's a real hospital and a real place, and you can do sort of, you're really healing yourself.
I really enjoy the fact that there is some consequence to death now, that there's a sense of continuity. I don't just die and magically respawn somewhere. You know, my corpse is something I now have to go and find if I've put something important on it.
Anyone else notice that this guy's got a new camera? Because the last time he was on, he had like 2-bit. That's good to see.
Worked on is a T0 implementation, so it's bare bones. There's so much more to do. There are a few things we've fixed since then that should be coming out in 3.17. I've had feedback saying that bleed is too harsh, and absolutely, we've addressed that. It was unfortunately an oversight on our part, and we've reduced the severity of bleeding, so you won't start bleeding then, you know, keel over 2 seconds later. Instant death, we never want to have someone fall over and die immediately from a single like pistol shot to the head, or, you know, the foot. We've covered a couple of issues that were causing that, so 3.17 we should see that removed entirely. We've also had feedback regarding sort of hunger thirst and also the status system in general, just not persisting between like play sessions.
So yeah, now between logins, most of your stats will persist, your health, your injuries, your hunger and thirst, so we'll see that gameplay back in the PU properly.
We've also had some feedback regarding the crime stats. This was one that I hadn't encountered, but sort of face-palmed when I saw it. If you ram your own corpse with a ship, you get a crime rating for it, and that's not obviously great. It's sort of an extra kick to your dignity. But thankfully, the Mission Future team guys have really drilled into that and fixed it. So 3.17, that humiliation should be removed, thankfully.
For the injuries not being seen enough, we've also added a bit of probability into it.
If you jump off a tree, there's every chance you're going to snap every bone in your body, or you're going to land like a cat. So we've introduced a little bit of a random element that doesn't scale linearly to try and achieve that, and it's really worked out, I think, quite well. We're seeing injuries more often, and it's not always at a gamified value that you reach. Beyond 3.17, there are other things we want to get into. We want to make improvements. Body dragging, for example, we know that's not exactly great right now. If you want to drag someone into an elevator, it can be a bit hit or miss. We're definitely looking to improve that. Some people just don't care about injuries because they just mash the die button and then respawn in their ship and then, haha, they move on. That won't be possible moving forward once we get some really big changes in. And again, this is, quite a ways away. But things like permadeath, DNA degradation, being charged to respawn, the idea of your character dying.
Can you imagine if we had charging to respawn right now? How infuriating that would be! Oh dear.
Forever, and just having to spawn next to kin. Those are all things we're fairly confident they're going to be coming in at some point in the distant future.
Badges, I don't know if you're aware, but you're muted, mate.
Sure. The manner in which they come in, we've got an idea of how they're going to be developed and also how they're going to function. We have had lots of other feedback that I haven't covered so far, and the reason I've not addressed is because we don't yet have a solid idea of how we're going to address that, and we don't want to make any promises that we're not going to fulfill.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that loot is expanding into both rarity and variation beginning with Alpha 3.17 and beyond. That when combined with selling, a loop emerges to make your living as a potential treasure hunter. And that medical gameplay continues to evolve with your feedback and testing, and there's plenty more yet still to come. Now remember that Stella Fortuna is upon us, and there are some really nice vehicle paints that you can learn more about on the robertsspaceindustries.com website. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all next week.
So that was a little meh.
That was slightly light, certainly.
Yeah, definitely light.
Yeah.
I don't know what to really make of that, to be honest with you. As I said, a bit meh.
Quality of life improvements, which is always a good thing, but I don't think they were quality of life experience or improvements that we weren't expecting. We were kind of, they were needed. So it's not like, oh, cool, they're adding. It's just,
yeah. I don't know. I always question things like whether it was too soon or too, like when they're bringing that death stuff in, whether it's too soon or too late. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just I found that a bit lackluster. It's just one of those weeks, I guess. Bit of a filler episode, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think next week and the week after will be the bigger ones anyway, because we've obviously got the patch just around the corner. I'd expect it to be live by, well, it's in Evocati's hands now. It has been for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd expect by the end of the month it's in most people's hands. I'll just have to wait and see.
You'd hope so.
Should we have a look at some questions? We've got 2 questions. Dell asks...
Yeah, chat are really quiet today.
Yeah. It's
Pipe up, you lot.
Yeah. Do the free copies of Star Citizen Squadron 42 for concierge members really make a difference for anybody? I think it kind of allows you to melt off some of those smaller game packages and roll them into something more worthwhile. I would have liked to see them do stuff like it also maybe give us episodes 2 and 3 of Squadron 42. That would have been a nice thing to do as well. But yeah, maybe that'll come in time. ZB asks, question, given that orgs will go after each other's supply chains, curious if you guys will ever put a terrorist's, not pirates, perspective on ships. Simply Grief's perspective on them. We did actually talk about like one of the easiest ways to hijack a Genesis Starliner. We talked about this years ago. Would you just put someone on the ship that would be a plant that he or she could just tell you exactly where they are. And, you know, I actually think Genesis Starliners are probably going to need to be covered more than almost anything because of that. So, yeah. Why is there so ship... Where the hell am I? There's so few
I don't know from that. Because the key thing, you know, we've kind of watered down the definition of terrorist, right? And the terrorist is like, oh, anytime someone makes someone feel terrified, it's a terrorist. It's like, no, that's not really it at all. You know, terrorists are using the fear of violence and the ever-present threat of violence to create a political aim. Yeah. So when we get to know how far we can influence the politics of Star Citizen, will kind of define, you know, kind of how much we look at the terrorist route, I think. If I were to make a prediction now, right off the top of my head, without really thinking about it, it's going to be a really brave game that introduces terrorism as a profession. That's pretty damn ballsy in today's environment.
Yeah, it could have a bit of blowback there. I'm thinking of other things that are... You know, because one man's terrorism is another freedom fighter. Like, you've heard these terms before. So, yeah, it would have... And knowing how kind of political LA is and stuff like that, I think they'd be very hesitant to put something like that in the game because of real world lining up with the game. And companies don't like that because it always comes off as bad, but, you know... I think they'd be more reluctant to do any of that. So, yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting, but are they bold enough to do that?
You know, because right, and I think we're taking this slightly wider than normal, but I think there's a middle ground to be had. I mean, anyone that comes and talks to us in Discord knows that I'm not particularly a fan of the woke idea. However, there is certainly ground to be made on treating certain people in the game better. You know, if you're reverting to racial slurs and things like that to make you feel better after you've died, you probably need to take a good hard look at yourself and, you know, take yourself around the back, give yourself a good kicking and come back a better human being for it. It's the same thing like the argument about women on Twitch and stuff like that is I genuinely don't see what the problem is. You know, so what? So what if it is? You know, the people that make those comments just don't take the time. Just invert your Twitch. Go and look at how many, you know, people say all you need is a big chest and a low cut top. Go and look at the people streaming to 0 people. There are so many of them with a big chest and a low cut top, right? It's not just about the titties. but you know, there is a line to be drawn, and I think, you know, there's certainly a line to be drawn with games that try to draw on conflicts that are still happening.
Yeah.
Or where you still have people suffering from the wounds and the trauma of that event. I think that's dodgy ground. And I also think that stuff like that, where you see innocent bystanders as a form of political capital, I can just expend this to achieve what I want. You know, I think everything has to be very carefully done. You know, and X and I will remember, and I'm sure a lot of people in chat will remember, when they released the Call of Duty with the airport mission, they were so careful to make sure people didn't get exposed to that if they didn't want to.
Yeah.
The minute you installed the game, it warned you. It warned you again before the mission. It gave you a bazillion outs before you went to that mission. But actually, you know, I suppose you could argue it was somewhat realistic in its depiction of certain people just want to inflict a massive amount of damage, a lot of collateral damage, in order to further their aim, shall we say. So yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be quite brave. I think for a game as well that's had as much controversy around it as Star Citizen, it might just be a minefield they decide not to negotiate at all. Best way to deal with a minefield, go around it.
Yeah. I'm just popping my filters under that other camera because I haven't updated it. And it's terrible. Wait, where did you go?
I'm still here, but then again, I'm a couple seconds behind you, so.
It turned your camera off on me.
Did it? Yeah.
Because I went back to the wrong one. That's why I need to go to that one. There we are. I went to the wrong one.
Just while you're sorting that out, mate, we have Sean Solo says, with the current state of FPS missions, do you think players will be encouraged to do them to find the gear they used to buy, or just annoyed and buy different gear moving forward?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think both. I think you can have people in both camps. I think this is always the hazard of not implementing things from right as you do them in exactly the way you intend to be implemented. Because the minute you change anything in a game, people will whinge one way or the other. You know, that it's not gone far enough, it's gone too far. But, you know, the fact that they've mentioned specifically, like, the security outfits, you know, I ran around for a lot of time trying to do all the Hearthstone security missions so I could pick up a set of Hearthstone Dynamics armor to look exactly like they do. So I've got that kicking around in my inventory. And I think that's kind of linked. I think that's kind of linked with the reputation system. That you won't just be able to randomly buy stuff that makes you look exactly the same as an official organization in-game. I don't see that being too much of a surprise, I guess. But
and now I'm having all this trouble where I can't copy stuff.
No.
It just won't work. That's what's being. I'll see if I can try it one more time.
What do you think? Are you going to go bunker missions X after the armor that you want, or not really?
Nah, I don't enjoy bunker missions, man. I really don't. They're just
No?
yeah, they're just not my jam.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Pretty much. I don't like being forced to do things, and they are they are forcing us to do a lot of stuff, and that's kind of what is annoying me. I don't like being forced into. Well, do you like being forced to do things? I don't like being forced to do things, and at the moment, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm being forced to do something I don't want to do. That's how it is. So yeah. Anyway. All right. Are there any more questions?
Not at the moment. We got a very quiet chat today.
Yeah, very quiet. We've only got 10 viewers. I think that's the ISC.
Yeah.
I think ISC was kind of meh, and no one seems to give a shit, and that's fine. If you have a question, oh, that's the one that you just asked. With the current state of missions, do you think we'll be encouraging to find gear, use them, or just annoy? Yeah, I think they are trying to encourage us to go do the mission so they can be tested. Long story short.
Yeah. I mean, Minkcake makes a good point. He says, I think if you get shot in the head, you should insta die unless you are wearing a heavy helmet. I play too much Tarkov to agree with that, but that's Tarkov.
Yeah. That's a hard one.
Yeah. It is, and especially when you think of how much close range stuff we're going to be doing, like fighting through ships and bunkers and stuff, and then when people are rocking LMGs with fire rates of 800-900 rounds a minute, and that's just the ones that we've got. I'm sure some of those are going to get faster.
This is a weird one for me because this is where realism and gameplay don't line up. Because for me, like if you're using a sniper rifle and you shoot someone with a sniper rifle, I think that should kill you in one hit. But if you're using an SMG, I don't think it should instantly kill you and you get shot in the head. So, and let's be honest, what is the difference between a takedown and a kill? I don't think it should be a kill. I think it should, if you get sniped in the head, it should just take you down. So I don't know, that's just me. Yeah. I think that's what they're talking about. They don't want instant kills. They want takeouts instead.
Yeah, because the other thing I don't want to happen is I don't want people to be acting like they do in Tarkov. So when you're all stood out in the open and you're talking to each other, I don't want everyone to be stood there kind of sidestepping and backwards and forwards to make it harder for a headshot on the off chance that someone with a sniper rifle is drawing a bead on you.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to look weird, and also
it happens in so many games. It happens in so many games right now where you just don't stop moving because if I stop, I'm dead. I don't know. There's a fundamental problem with snipers is that the only thing that counts as a sniper currently in any game is another sniper. So it'd be really cool if there was a way to. Yeah, I don't know. It'd have to be gameplay reasons, and it wouldn't be realistic. It's like, well, I've got this special drone, but the drone only detects people that are a certain range away from me, or something like that. The only other one I've seen that kind of worked well was, and it actually goes back to Far Cry, was, do you remember when they used to aim at you and there'd be like a Glenn's flare off the scope? So that's the only other one I can think of that's kind of balanced it a bit.
Nice. But I think potentially you can have other things. So if you have something that's like thermal defeat for IR, you could have thermal defeat clothing, but stop it being armor.
Yeah.
So the payoff is you can have thermal defeat to get into a forward position to, scope out what's going on as an observation post to provide information back to your your strike team or whatever, but that's where I'd go with it. The minute the shooting starts, you're going to have to change out of that kit into something else. And of course, if you're in a 0G environment or a no atmosphere environment, more to the point, you're not going to be doing that because, all that sort of stuff. So, I think probably that's, maybe that's the way they approach it. Just going through the comments there. Yeah, Riddick, you make the comment about, how far it goes woke in games. Look, I'm not suggesting, I'm with the gaming community on most things. I was with them on the battlefield for, yes, there were women in combat, but there weren't British women in combat. And if you think amputees make great battlefield snipers, you just don't understand battlefields or sniping. That's not how that works.
That was a little bit too far. Like they were trying to tick all these boxes. Disabled.
Yeah. But at the same time,
just had all.
I've been in an armor thing where we had there was a lass playing one of the squad leaders, and she was calling in artillery strikes, and on the server that we were playing, she was calling that in using the in-game chat. if you were the HQ or the artillery or the pilots on that server, you also sat in a separate TeamSpeak to coordinate. And I was sat in there, and there was lots of the typical blokes sniggering away. And I ended up having to shut them all up. And I said, guys, I'm ex-military. I said, she's using actual NATO pro words. It wouldn't surprise me if she's serving military or she's like a National Guard officer or something. She was American. And it was like, she's using actual NATO pro words. She's giving you a properly formatted call for fire. So how about we stop laughing, get on the artillery and send the rounds where she needs them? And it's just that kind of like constant, oh, well, she's playing this, so she must have boobs and that's the only reason she's doing it. There are those people out there, but there are also genuine gamers.
No, that's true.
And we can find a balance. Do you know what I mean? So yes, I see what you mean, mate. But I think there are some topics that are just off limits. No one is ever going to release a game where you're a camp guard at Auschwitz. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just want to respond to Blamsmith real quick. He says, "Hey guys, did I miss ISC? Yeah, you did, but I'm going to be honest, you didn't miss much. It was pretty bland, man. Them talking about all the fixes they're going to do for medical stuff and." What was the first bit? Jeez, like that's how much it's stuck in my mind. I've already forgotten. Can't remember what the first part was about. What was it? The looting. Yeah. So it was basically like a patch notes update almost. It was pretty bland.
Yeah. Leon, I think Nightshade answered your question in the chat. Yes, your 600i Explorer will get a G12. So thanks, Nightshade, for answering that one for us. Jeff Martin says, can't wait to hear people bitching because they lose their rear loot because of a crash. Yeah, welcome to Star Citizen. Crystal H, really interesting you say that. I think we also want to avoid DayZ syndrome. What do you mean by that? Because I used to play DayZ an awful lot, right? And it's one of the reasons now I play Tarkov, because of that gear fear feeling. Is that what you're talking about? That fear of losing loot and the frustration of doing it, or something else? Let us know, mate, and we'll respond to it.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I play Hunt Showdown and not Tarkov, because I don't give a shit about gear. I like the killing. I don't give a crap about the gear. So I don't know.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Riddick says, with server meshing looking like it's not coming anytime soon, TM, will they most likely instance and keep current player cap? I think we see slightly differently on this, X, don't we?
Well, I think my whole thing comes down to it's 2 lots of work if you do it that way. So, and the impression they're giving to me is it looks like they're just going to hold out until it's done so they don't have to do it twice. But you give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I've said for a while now that I wondered whether or not Star Citizen, CIG, if they were really, really struggling with the static server meshing so we could jump from Stanton to Pyro, whether they would possibly look at having a separate group of servers that would just be Pyro. So you would log in and it would just be Pyro and that was it. To get all that stuff tested.
So if they actually made it so it used the same persistent server, but you could log into one, but the only problem is you'd have to claim your stuff between every time you did it. That could work because then you wouldn't need the jump point. That I could see them doing. But again, there's still things that I'd have to double up on, as in they'd have to set that up, and so whoever was setting that up, that's temporary. And I think they're trying to not double up on work at all at the moment. That's just the feeling I'm getting. Because there's only so many network engineers and programmers and stuff, and they're the finite resource at the moment.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But I did wonder if that's the way that we're going. Because it would give them the opportunity to test this replication layer, which is the means of, remembering where your stuff is, what stuff you've got, where it's placed, the state that it's in, etc., etc., and copying the information between servers. So as you jump between servers, as you move between that kind of mesh. The replication layer is effectively how they know what you've got, where it is, how it's kind of recording all the information about your character. So maybe that's a nice calm, if that's one way to think about it, way to test that. I don't know, but it would be interesting to see, because they seem to have, looking at CitizenCon last year, they seem to have a little bit of pyro kind of fairly well advanced. So
I think they've got quite a few planets done, worked on, like that line of 5 that we always talk about. So from Orion, I think the one that they haven't done as much work on as we think is probably Terra, because obviously that's a huge city, like that's kind of like half ArcCorp, half a normal planet. So that one's going to be probably one of the latter ones done.
Yeah, I think that's going to be accompanied by some fanfare. I wouldn't mind betting that we get that on launch week or something similar. And it, because then you'd have everyone rushing to see Terra at the outset of the game, and then kind of almost like the migration from Earth when we first discover space travel is like people traveling out from that point, and that would be kind of cool.
I think I'm going to have this issue where I can't select the ship I want to select again.
No. That's puns.
Yeah, it happens all the time. But hey, that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. Starting to see that new UI came. Okay, that was the one thing that I really took out of this week's ISC was the new UI stuff coming in. So hopefully that becomes a thing. But yeah, this thing just it doesn't like large ships because clearly it's trying to load them in the background. And trying to get a large ship to load in this just doesn't work properly. Like, I'm deliberately selecting just large ships. Wait, that's a small one. Yep, loaded straight away. Reclaimer. Now is a good time to make a lure out of me. That'd be great, please. Anytime ready.
Shadow Girl says, I just really wish the skins were green and gold in regards to the
Oh yeah, that would. No, I could agree with that. I could get behind that. That'd look heaps cooler, actually. Now she mentions it, yeah.
Especially on Origin because it's kind of their jam anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. That said, though, I now know you're a Power Rangers fan. Just going to call you on that because once you can't unsee it now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. Crystal King talks about Battlefield 5 removing bigotry when that it was prevalent, and then adding some when there was none. Yeah, it's interesting. There were. I don't want to sound like Trump, but I'm gonna. There were good people on both sides. I mean, if you do a study into Erwin Rommel, who was commander of the German Afrika Corps, he was a German. Was not a Nazi. He was a German officer first. And when they captured so many British and Allied in North Africa that they were struggling to give them water, he cut his own fighting troops of water rations to make sure that his prisoners of war weren't dying of thirst. And he was basically given a choice at the end. They realized that Rommel was close to the plots against Hitler, or at least he was implicated, and they basically gave him a choice. You do away with yourself, or your family will be treated as enemies of the German nation. And he took his own life to defend his family. So you got good guys, bad guys on both sides. No one had a choice to just go, do you know what? I'm not fighting. I'm just going to quit the army now because,
Some people are forced into positions, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So I don't want to go too far down that route, but yeah, fine. Okay. Riddick says, with the docking of the Merlin, will CRG start using for ships like the Cat soon?
I think the next time, like when that command module come online, is probably when we see them going to do modularity on the Cat. So. That was a well-timed question as I get into a Cat, but yeah.
Good ship. I didn't know she was doing that, but yeah, love them. Yeah, I don't know whether you mean the implementation of having like a docking thing for the Caterpillar.
So what
whether you mean the modularity for the Caterpillar.
So what he's talking about is, you know, you got the Merlin and it can dock with the Constellation.
Yeah.
What he's talking about, he's talking about this command module here on the side where I'm about to get into. So now I walk into that. This is actually a whole separate chip here on the side.
Sorry. Yes, I'm with you.
So I forget. So he's talking about. It's hard to show off, but that bit just there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually like a whole separate chip. It's not as fighty as a Merlin, obviously, but you could definitely use it to go down to planet and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Everything's a torpedo once.
Right.
Yeah.
Not flying with you anytime soon.
But yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I think again, it's kind of the alpha versus beta thing, is that they've proved they can do the docking and undocking. So they move on, you know, and they will come back and add that effectively in beta, because it's like, we've proved we can do it. It kind of works the way we want it to. Now we're going to go add something else, and we will come back.
It's a little bit more than that too, because they've used it for a few things. Like they're now using it for the ship-to-ship refueling. Yeah,
sure.
And the other thing we always say too is, like, the more further along something is, generally the better and polished it'll be. So the longer they don't do the cat, kind of the better it's going to be. But you know, I think the cat's a little bit further along just because of the modules. You know, if I'm completely honest, that's what it's going to be. So, but as a, you know, all those ships with modules, they're the most versatile. So yeah. Whoa, frames. Oh, there we go.
That's not good.
It's always like that when you walk out from a plane.
Okay, so Cobra 9 Delta says, I have an opportunity to upgrade my DIR to the 400i for free. Is it worth it?
DIR to what, sorry?
The 400i.
400i. Well, why don't you use that to jump to something else, though? So if you don't like the 400i, why don't you go to something above it? You know, you got an MSR, Constellation, you Cat, you know, so maybe use it as a discount. So it doesn't have to be the 400i. It could be just a stepping stone, and that's a good upgrade. That's a good saving. So just don't look at it as a 400i. Look at it as a saving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Badgers doesn't like to do financial advice, so he's not going to say anything.
Yeah. No, it's not so much. I mean, because it's not financial advice, because you're getting it for free.
Yeah.
But you know, you know, if you're, I don't like doing advice like this in general, because, you know, as X will tell you, I frustrate him endlessly by not doing CCU chains, by buying fighters, because, you know, the way we perceive value in the game is different. And I will end up upgrading my stuff. It's just going to be a lot later, because right now I'm enjoying my Saber, so I don't want to upgrade it and lose it.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Exactly.
And I've told you that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you know, it's got to be something that you see the value in. If you've not tried the 400i, you know what the community is like. Get in, ask. Someone will be more than happy to let you fly around in their 400i.
And
I think it's in a much. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, to counter that, I'm not a big fan of the Origin ships. That's well known. I just don't think they offer the value for what they're priced at. But if you can get that upgrade for free, yeah, take it and go to something above it. Yeah, just use it as a stepping stone. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Okay, Sean Solo. Once more systems are implemented, I hope we are all allowed to select other starting points besides Stanton. What do you think?
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. 100%.
For sure.
They've already talked about, you know, Terra and Earth and stuff like that. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a few to pick from when you start. And they probably give you, like, looking at the lore team, I wouldn't be surprised if they give you your character a background. Raised on Earth, highly privileged, blah, 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 you know, or the slums of Pyro, work your way up, you know.
Yeah,
kind of a bit
like you get,
like Cyberpunk had with the 3 different starting things. Similar to
Yeah, absolutely. Like all the RPGs have, your starting world says something about you, and NPCs may or may not react to nothing other than the starting world that you've created. You know, you're another one of those pyro peasants. We don't deal with them, and that sort of stuff. But yeah, absolutely, we're going to start with different starting systems, I think, that we can select. What will be really interesting to see is once the game's properly underway, orgs are implemented fully, whether or not you're going to have the opportunity to set your start point for a new character or a new account at an org that you may have already joined through Spectrum, or some other offline way. It'll be interesting to see whether they implement that. But what do you think, X?
I was not listening. I'm going to be totally honest. I wasn't listening at all. I was trying to figure out what to do on this stream to show what I was doing, because like I was just trying to figure out what to do to show stream. I got no idea. So yeah, sorry. What was the question again? Apologies. Terrible.
So the question was, do you think that they'll implement organization-specific spawns that maybe a new character or a new account could spawn at if you join that org offline, like through Spectrum or something?
So what I think back to is ages ago when they were talking about what was it called? The organizational hangars. Are we about to go through the planet, or is nope? Okay.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. So they talked about organizational hangars. So I think they'll definitely look at trying to get people to work together. Like, it's really clear to me. I don't know about you yourself, but it's really clear to me they're trying to get, like, as you progress up, working more and more together. It's just so obvious how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And the end game is working in an org. So I think anything to support that will come. Yeah. Yeah. Any more? Yeah.
Sort myself out some more alcohol off camera.
Yep. So I don't know what question we're up to next. Okay, Merlin. Once more systems implemented without besides stand. Yes. There's a question here from Riddick that says, with modules, when can we expect the Retaliator? I think that'll probably be one of the first ships that we see the modules for, because they've been announced and sold. So I'd highly expect to see that first. Whether we get more than what they've stated is another question. That's going to take time. So yeah, that's a tough one, as in what modules we're getting for it. But yeah.
So earlier I asked Crystal King what they meant about DayZ, and they've clarified for us. They said DayZ syndrome was more about the kind of hyper-aggression that can be found in full loot PvP games, where kill on sight is a default option because people don't trust each other. I think CIG are making steps within Star Citizen to curtail that, with the crime stats, with prison, with the reputation system. I mean, within DayZ, there were people who would try and play nice because, you know, they wanted the hero kind of stats, because being a hero or being it was a bandit.
Apparently I'm not a nice person and they're shooting me. Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
just came to say hello.
Where you could be. Yeah, exactly. It would limit where you could go, the sort of gear that you had access to. And
What? Yeah, now you understand
what are you fighting?
Nothing. I just turned up to say hello and they started shooting at me. Alright, get off my lawn, apparently.
Oh. Was that a bunker mission, was it?
I don't know. I just went there, I just picked someone randomly. I was just going to go there and see if I could buy some stuff, but apparently they've got nothing for sale.
You are a very bad man. A very, very bad man. So there. But yeah, no, hopefully they're putting... those systems will work and they will get rid of that hyper-aggression. I mean, DayZ tried something where you would shoot the standalone, and you would shoot people, and depending on where you hit them, you would have a chance of damaging equipment that they carried on that part of the body. So if you hit them on the torso, whatever was in their jacket, whatever was in their backpack, you know, on their legs, you would damage whatever was in their trousers, and so on and so forth. maybe we get something like that. Maybe something like that's, kind of part of the repair. Don't know, but you're right. That sort of hyper-aggression almost made it boring. And I think the streamers that were most fun to watch were the ones who tried to roleplay, who rocked up and, held people at gunpoint and took some of their stuff, left them some stuff, and then moved on. I'm thinking, like Frankie on PC and that sort of crowd were really fun to watch because they played it not just kill everything, not as a murder hobo. But yeah. Okay. So, where are we next in comments?
Yeah, so if the questions dry up here, guys, we're going to cut it short, but I think it's just the ISC why it's a bit dry today. But yeah, if you've got questions, please shoot them through. If the questions dry up, we're just going to call it early, because that's what we're here for. We're here to talk to you guys, and if you guys don't want to talk, then we'll go home! But yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, there is another question there from Blamsmith, if you want to read that one out.
Yeah, so Blamsmith asks, do we know how they plan to reduce PvP in safer systems or areas, especially as the armistice zones are going away? Yeah, so if you're not aware, I'm sure most of us in the Inforunners community are, but they are planning to do away almost entirely, if not entirely, with armistice zones. They don't like the lack of realism of them. I think potentially you're going to have systems, maybe high sec like Eve, where maybe, just being able to knock out a one comms array isn't going to cut it, because there are multiple comms arrays all overlapping. And maybe those systems, it's not just about shooting people. Maybe in those systems, even applying power to your weapons is considered an act of aggression.
Well, also secure space itself, security will turn up. That's the other thing. Yeah, exactly. In insecure space, no one's going to turn up and save your ass. So you're going to have AI help, essentially, if you get attacked. So
yeah. Again, hopefully there will be. And I think what you'll see is certain types of ships will limit themselves to certain types of security space. So I would imagine the whole class, for example, are going to be much more kind of inner systems that are higher security, because they're going to take a long time to remove all the cargo, which leaves them at risk, and so on and so forth. Whereas things like the ships that are described as blockade runners, like the Banu Marchman and stuff like that, are going to be more lawless system-based cargo, things that are able to defend themselves. And I think even if they don't design it that way, that's likely to be the way players will do it. Because honestly, who wants to take Holly into a place where it's going to take you hours to unload, and you're likely to see a pirate every 30 minutes?
I saw it coming. Wait, restricted area? What? Is these guys going to shoot at me as well?
Yeah, you're dead.
God damn it. Why is this a restricted area? God damn it, man. I'm getting no luck on Lyria at all. Could someone tell me on Lyria where I can go just to buy some stuff? I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's poop.
And there's you telling me you won't fly with me. I'm not sure I want to jump in a plane with you or an aircraft for you at this point.
I haven't crashed.
No, but you have been shot at a lot.
Yeah, but you got to risk it for the biscuit,
Yeah. So,
I normally follow quests. I don't normally just like go around random locations.
Alaric Ulti Enslin says, so Kraken Boy here from last time. I've watched so many of your Fix My Fleet series that I've decided to melt my Kraken and bought the company pack. I'm feeling good about it. Good, man. I'm glad it's helped.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm glad you found some use of them. That's good news.
I hear that a lot though. Like I hear people where they go to work and they just put the Fix My Fleet playlist on and listen to it again and again, and it makes me feel like, am I slowly driving people insane? who would want to listen to me on repeat? Like, who would want to listen to me and Algared and yourself and the others on repeat? Like, I just don't get that.
I know, right?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
It's high praise. That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, I still find it hard to believe sometimes that I ever got monetized on YouTube. I was just expecting to bounce around the 40 subscriber mark forever, so that was phenomenal. But yeah,
all right.
So we got Blounsmith's question in. Riddick says, "Quick, detach the command module." Oh wait,
Handbolt mines, is that going to sell me anything? Can anyone tell me? Will that sell me stuff? All right, I'll go there. And if they don't, it's your fault.
Excuse me, always. Right. Chris Bates says, question, what are you looking forward to as far as Salvage?
I want the Reclaimer to work, but obviously that's going to be a little while away yet.
Yeah. I'd second that. Yeah, one of the things that I end up trying to choose between is whether or not I want to do an org or be part of an org, or whether I just want a crew. And if I were to go the crew route, Reclaimer would definitely be one of my top picks.
Yeah, I swear I've talked this about on another stream, but like if you kind of look at how they've talked about the repair system and the way Salvage is, you can kind of break down how it's going to work. You're going to have to kind of on a small like this. So this is the Vulture. I think we went through this. I wonder if I can actually hang on, if I can just kind of stop this ship, right? And I will go back to my browser and go Vulture.
Just while he's doing that, Riddick, just clarify for us so I can answer the question fully what you mean as a mature rated gameplay. Sorry, X.
No problem at all, man. No problem at all. Open image in new tab. So I'm just trying to get an image up here. And then if I go in here and turn that off. All right, so now we've got the Vulture, right? So basically, from what I can gather, these... So we know it's hull stripping. You would have heard that term. I'm pretty sure you've heard that, yeah? So I'll explain it to you, and then if you can understand it, then I believe everyone else can understand it. So I'm calling you a normie.
That's why I love you.
Yeah. Look, we're here all week. So as far as I can tell, objects will travel in to or the piece that's been blown up, because they've said you've got to use the blasters to blow it up into chunks. So that's the weakness of this ship. It can't cut things up. You've got to go out and grab the chunks. But if you were with a bigger ship, they could just hand you chunks too, right? So they hand you a chunk, and what I can tell is that these cylinder things here are they strip off the different materials, right? And they gather the different materials. So say you were taking copper off, one of those cylinders so it allows you to gather up to 6 different, or 5, or whatever, how many are there? I'd have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 different materials, right? And that's the liquid part, the part that's on the outside of the ship. And anyone that's seen the ships kind of explode, you can tell there's like a shell underneath. That shell underneath then transverses into the door at the back of the Vulture, is cut up, and then goes into the inside, and you'll see on the inside there's a trash compactor that is then trash compacted into cubes, and so you have this liquid storage and this I don't know what to call it, solid storage, I guess. And they're the two materials that two types of materials this will make. When you spin that up to something larger like a Reclaimer, it's more automated, because you've got the tractor beams that pull it in, you've got the lasers to cut it up, so you don't need to blast it apart, and it's the same process though. It'll just be sped up on a bigger scale. So that's the kind of gameplay you're going to be looking at. Tractor beams on a Reclaimer, pulling stuff in, stripping it off, and then crushing it up. That's your gameplay. And then to add to that, there's probably a thing like you have to, if you're doing it manually, you might have to look at the different material types and not mix them, because if you mix them up, it ruins the purity. That's what I'm imagining, right? But this is not confirmed, because you kind of have to, So I'm imagining it's along those lines, like to put that actual gameplay in. It's almost like decoloring something. You know what I mean? Where you're pulling the green off, and then you're pulling the blue off, and then stuff like that. And if you go over the line too much and it fucks up the purity, the price starts to drop a lot. you go into the actual crushing stuff, I think that'll be fairly flat. We do know that the you can melt it down. Like apparently there used to be a refinery on the reclaimer, and now it's called a processing unit. So basically, what I imagine is, you know how it's just the vulture crushes up into a block. I actually think the reclaimer goes a step further and sorts it and then crushes it, and so you get individual materials rather than something that has to be sorted and crushed at a refinery. Sure. So I don't know if there will be a crushing gameplay where you have to sit there and sort and stuff. But if you go to the back of the reclaim room, there's a huge sorting area. It's got multiple bins and stuff like that. So I actually think parts are going to come into the back of that reclaimer, and you might even be able to hand cut them up. So yeah, there's a whole what if made mutts and babies, but you can kind of see that. And on the reverse side, you can start to see the repair gameplay, because you might go, right, so this plan is telling me for me to build this wing that I need these liquids and I need to 3D print this wing part. So you 3D print that wing part, and then you're essentially coloring back in the wing. And it's made out of this component, so I need to put 90% of it here. So it's almost like coloring. Believe it or not, it is almost like coloring in. That's what I've work through with all the professional people that I've talked to, and that's kind of where it's come to. But there are still big questions if that is exactly it, but that's what I've got at the moment. It's along those lines. So that's the best I can give you, but take that all with a complete grain of salt. But if you look at how the mining worked, that is pretty much how you'd kind of roughly expect a laser to work if it broke up a rock, yeah? So if you're trying to break that back down to how would they, we know they've got the shells, we know that they've got the wireframe underneath. If you work that backwards on how that would work as gameplay, that's kind of like roughly where you land at. And I'm trying to leave it as vague as I can, obviously, because I don't want to promise things, but I think you can kind of get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think it's kind of twofold for me, very much the same as what X was saying of the reclaimer. I think the other thing that I'm really kind of looking forward to is Rex and, you know, kind of part broken up vessels and all that sort of stuff. I'm looking forward to those becoming genuine points of interest that have a real reason for you to stop off, whether it's, you know, fine. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say the other part you got to add to that, though, and I know I'm interrupting, but is the components, because we've got to be able to take components out of ships. The cutter, the reclaimer, believe it or not, a big thing is the cutter, because that cutter needs to go over to take the components out before you can crush the ship. So there's a lot more moving parts to the reclaimer than most people realize, and the whole processing facility, I would expect it much like kind of what's happening with mining, where we saw the prospector, we saw the mole. I actually think we'll see the ship that we've not even know exists yet before we see the Orion. I think it's literally a very clear progression where it's taking what there's there, adding the next step. Taking what's there, adding the next step. Because, like, obviously sorting's not online for the mole. You know what I mean? So you're essentially taking the gameplay you already have in a starter ship and adding to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, but yeah, going back to, you know, I'm really hoping that these points of interest, you know, they become reasons to stop off whether you have a mission or not, and they become things that you find as opposed to things that you get a mission to travel to.
Yeah.
You know, and whether you find later on when the nav mesh is implemented,
you know, it'd be cool
survivors,
if you know, it'd be cool as if you
them, or you know, they're under attack, and but you get those choices. So you're talking to them, and they go, "Please help us! The pirates are coming back."
Even a random,
you either go yes or no, or fuck this, I'm out.
Even
you know,
even just a random quest. Like I was heading down here now, and there just happened to be an NPC there that needs help.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, things that aren't that generate missions when you get to them, but don't need a mission in order for you to find them at all.
Yep.
Because they're going to feel like they happen much more organically. But yeah, so hopefully Salvage starts us down that road, which will be quite nice. Riddick says, can we as older backers expect a mature rated gameplay? By mature rated gameplay, he means kind of something along the lines of Red Dead 2. over 18 gameplay, and he says, I want a mature game, not a teen rated game, so they can get a wider audience, even though games like GTA still get kids playing.
I still think I don't think there'll be nudity or anything like that, if that's kind of what you're asking. The violent factor, there's not a lot of blood or gore in Space Marine. I think they are. Yeah, I think you'll find that it's probably closer to teen, if I'm completely honest.
It might deal with adult themes and stuff and feel like more mature purely because it's going down the route of, you know, not dealing with subject matter that you would deem to keep teens occupied, hopefully. You know, maybe there's a bit more political intrigue. I mean, I really can't see teens, the majority of them, jumping up and down with the thought of having to manually load and unload their cargo before they, you know, make bank.
Yeah. I have a younger housemate, and he struggles to play anything that's not a complete dopamine hit. And I think all of us here that are a bit older can relate to the younger generation. Like, that's how I know I'm not getting older, because like I used to love the electronics and stuff, and now I'm going the other way where I want to go outside. I want to, you know, I want those interactions with people. I don't want, you know, like, I think I'm starting Facebook's evil and all that type of thing, because they've had negative effects on the world that we live in. I feel like an old fart, literally, just for saying that. But I don't know. Do you agree with me in that, or am I I'm outdated? Maybe.
No. No, I think back. I kind of think back to the vertical slice and looking at that. You know, they went and they rescued the advocacy agent who'd quite clearly been tortured.
Yeah,
right. But
that's an adult thing. Yeah,
you don't witness some through a grill, so you build up that feeling. It's enough to suggest that she's been tortured because she's black and blue, right?
Yeah.
Or at least interrogated. So, you know, it's, yeah. I hope it deals with adult themes. And I hope everything isn't just a reduction to, like, X says, a dopamine hit. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get maybe quite the punch in the gut sometimes that RDR2 delivers. Because some of that was proper, you know, kind of like gets you right in the feels, and some of it was proper. Oh God, no! And, you know, I don't think we're going to go to those extremes. Maybe Squadron 42 might be different.
Yeah, I really hope they can hit an emotional note with some of those characters. I think that if they can pull that off, that'd be great.
Exactly, and if they've got people like Gary Oldman, Mark Strong, Gillian Anderson, Henry Cavill, you know, Liam Cunningham, if you've got people like that in your game and you're not ripping people's emotions apart, you're doing it wrong. Why did you get that cast if you're not hitting people in the emotions? You know, exactly. I fully expect to come out of Squadron 42 going like, Jesus Christ, I feel like my emotions have done more mileage than the rest of me.
If I'm not using Kleenexes, which is tissues, if I'm not using tissues or lose a whole box, I'll be
reason or another.
Yeah. Then they've done it wrong for one reason or another, as you put it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, moving swiftly on before we get bogged down. Karsten Christensen says, any idea which ships we will see for sale for Invictus? Yes, the military ones. Invictus Fleet Week.
God damn it, now I can't get back in.
It will be the military ships.
I can get back in.
That's what it always is. And then the week after, you get Alien Week.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying earlier that St. Patrick's Day might be a that's why they've probably introduced the Origin, so they can at least sell Origin ships every 6 months. So that's what I think that move is today. You know, gambling, Origin, it gives you at least 1 day to buy an Origin ship.
Absolutely. Crystal King says, do you think buying weapons and selling them elsewhere would be economically sound like a weapons trader? No. because you're only able to sell it back for 90% of what you sold it for. And they said that if you're selling something that they don't stock, it's 50% because they don't want to stock it. There may be arms dealing as an entirely illegal profession or a questionable profession, but not from shops, not in terms of what we saw from ISC. No, absolutely not. I think picking them up in bunker missions. Someone asked me the question that dropped my jaw, and he says, when you play World of Warcraft, do you pick up all the grey stuff? So for those that don't play World of Warcraft, everything has a colour. Where they were talking about rarities, grey stuff is stuff that's useless to you. And I was like, well, yeah, because some of it's worth loads. He's like, no, what about the low-level stuff? I was like, no, not really, because it's not worth much. And he's like, well, do you pick it up and then replace it if you get more valuable kit? And I was like, no, not really, because it's just pointless. And he went, how long have you been playing the game? And I typed /played, and I don't want to talk about what figure came up, but it's lots of days. And he went, imagine if you picked up every piece of grey loot you ever found and sold it. Over that many days, imagine how much more gold you will be carrying. And the figure's terrifying. Yeah. It's a huge amount of money. It would be more money than I've ever seen in that game, I think, from start to finish. So when you go around and do these missions, just picking it up, just taking it back, just selling it, you imagine the amount of time we all can spend in Star Citizen now, doing that when the game's a lot more fully formed.
Yeah,
you are going to make bank just doing stuff like that. So, yeah. Okie dokie.
It's a time thing, though. Like, you've obviously got to go. It takes time to take all those greys back and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. yeah. If you're min-maxing your time and it's all about ISC per UEC per minute, then whatever. Sangroper WA 6000 says, "Morning, people."
Hey, Sangroper.
It's 10:15 here.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning. He is correctly in identifying me over here. No.
Yes,
that's fine.
It's 9:15 in the morning, which is why I'm drinking alcohol.
What the fuck?
It's an hour.
Wow, this is what? That's terrible. I was gonna say that's terrible. Look, but it's not solid. That's terrible.
Yeah. And also, before anyone accuses me of drinking wine, for those that are in supporters and know about it, Meadgate. I'm really enjoying my mead roundabout now. It's great.
Yeah, it's way more alcoholic than wine.
Oh,
Yeah. So you
think
he was simply drinking wine? Wine's for smucks. Get absolutely blasted on mead instead. What does it taste like? What would you say the flavor's like? Because I don't think I've ever tried mead personally.
It smells like pure honey.
Oh.
So when you're literally like, this is just going to taste like warm liquid honey, but it's not. It's more of an adult taste than that. It is sweet, but it is more of an adult taste than that, and it is a significant percentage. So those in supporters chat who followed my Meadscapade Volume 1, I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to open an OnlyFans where I basically drink this till I black out in my pants, and see where we go from there. Which then promptly resulted in me opening my hotel room door to the room service girl in my pants without mead, which is obviously why she screamed and dropped my food. But never mind. Moving swiftly on. Dan Horse Guy says,
you're meant to be giving people reasons to become a supporter, not drive them away, but okay, yeah, sure.
The thought of me in my underwear doesn't do it for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you even have a pulse, sir?
Yeah.
So that Horse Guy says,
yeah, it does. It makes it go down, not up.
Makes it stop. Yeah. Flatlined. What are your thoughts on a solo shop gameplay ship? Do you think it will be a thing?
Yes.
And what manufacturer would it like to be?
100% think it's going to be a thing. We've talked about it a few times. We talked about, like, imagine a little, you know how you get those little, just like one-off little shops in the real world, like a bazaar. Like it's a little round ship that has like a little desk in the middle, and it can be flown from, like, it has stairs at the back that goes upstairs to a living quarters and the flight deck, and then you kind of come down a half spiral staircase to the bottom, and all the stuff around the outside, like a menagerie is probably what I call it, but it's like a little one-off store. We talked about that quite a bit. We always looked at the Banu. because the banner needs more ships. So why, you know how the Misc has the whole series? Why couldn't the banner have all the shops?
The merchant series. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think what I so what was the name of the 3D office that did the Benny's delivery truck or the Benny's food truck? What was her name? She's gone now. She's moved on.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. She did the MSR as well.
Yeah, something like that would be amazing. Or I kind of like the idea of it being like a Drake held together with duct tape sort of job, where you're like, I don't know whether to order the tacos or the gastroenteritis, because this is clearly not going
to be Drake, Bargain Bin Drake ship,
Yeah. Where they go around at the end of the night, get all the drinks off the table, and put it back into the slushy machine. That sort of thing. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think everything, or most things, are going to have a beginner style ship. A solo crew. I don't see why that would be any different.
And I think we could kind of safely say that you've kind of got the privateer, the banner merchantman, that ship, and I think there's another one. You know, some like visually speaking, something like a constellation where that platform comes down and there's a shop there, or shops. You know, so if the banner merchantman's privateer's got 4, the banner merchantman's got 3, the starting one's got 1, the middle one would obviously have 2. So, you know, it just seems like a no-brainer to me. And that could be really cool if it could like sell vehicles or something. So it like drives up to where you are, and you go, here's a couple of vehicles. Which one do you want? Bang, off it goes. You know, so maybe it only has one store, but it carries vehicles. So it's a vehicle like a traveling car salesman or something like that. That could be different.
Absolutely. Okay, so Blamsmith says, I want hand salvage components far more than hull scraping or munching in a reclaimer.
Well, that's coming. That's coming. That's in that update, isn't it? That's in 3.18. That's essentially what the Vulcan is. The Vulcan's very hands-on compared to the other ones. So and it's if you go look on the roadmap, the multi-tool is getting the salvage tool.
Gotcha.
So it's
but I don't think we're going to be able to take components out right in 3.17,
no,
3.18, are we?
But that so it'll be stripping the ship down, but they'll probably just have the wrecks with no components in them, is what I'm expecting at this stage. And then the next step, I don't know, either they go to the next ship up that doesn't exist yet, or they bring in the components first. But yeah, to get to the reclaimer, there's quite a few steps when you break it down. To like the difference between a vulture and a reclaimer, there's like 3 or 4 other systems the reclaimer needs, like tractor beams, the actual processing, because that's similar to a refinery gameplay, but you got to be able to process it. And then you've got the actual stripping of the hull and the crushing of the hull. The vulture's probably be able to do that, but yeah, everything else is a lot more the laser to cut it up. There's another one. I just didn't even think of that until just then. So yeah.
Absolutely. Barnsley says, could we see the vulture's cubes be processed further by a reclaimer? Yes, in mine, when I eat the vulture. I doubt.
Ooh, yummy cubes!
Nom nom. Oh look, there was cubes inside that. That's how we process those.
You could, if you had a vulture with the reclaimer, I'm pretty sure you could transfer the cubes to the reclaimer and it would process them. Yeah. I think that would be a thing, because I think they are trying to get a lot of ships to work together, and they want a lot of ships to try and be scalable. And one thing I think we probably could be better at Inforunners, and this is all of us, not just me or Badgers or anyone, is actually start to look a lot more, and this is everyone, right? Not just Inforunners now, I really think about it, is how ships are going to integrate together. Because if you look at something like Drake is probably the most clear cut of all the ships, how you can see how they work together. That said, though, how is the Vulture going to work with the other Drake ships?
Yes.
It might work with the Caterpillar, as in Caterpillar can store its cubes and stuff. And we do know that one of the modules for the Caterpillar was meant to be what do you call it? A chop shop. So that may be a thing in the future.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal King says, personally, I think Salvage will come in 4 layers. Yeah, we pretty much know as much. There are going to be 4 parts to Salvage.
Agreed.
There's going to be hull scraping. There's going to be hull munching. the breaking up, the wholesale breaking up, like the Reclaimer will do. There's the component salvage, and there's also the part of salvage that is draining tanks of hydrogen fuel, quantum fuel, and any other liquids effectively that we end up getting along the way. So yes, that's the way that's going to come. Whether we get them individually or whether they implement multiple at a time,
the biggest thing that's up for the repair and the salvage gameplay is just how those liquids work. That's the one thing I can't nail down. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to, you know, break up and process the frame, but the liquids on the outside, that's the thing I don't understand. Are they going to make it simple colors? Like, is it simply just paint, or is it actual different materials like copper and metal and stuff like that? And that's we have heard them talk about in the past about it could be made up of different materials, but we've also heard them talk about colors, and so you could a part of repair could actually be painting other people's ships. So it's we just don't have those full details. So that's the last part I'm a bit reluctant to talk about, because I would literally be guessing. And you can see how it's going to work though, because it's in both the stuff they've got when they talked about the Crucible, and it's in the Reclaimer, and so basically it's just a backwards and forwards of each other. How much the gameplay changes, that's the tricky part, because one's stripping and one's applying. Now, is that literally the same thing in reverse? Because is that boring, or is there a lot more thought to it? Like when you're taking it off, you're trying to get just the and I use colors because it's easy, but like if you're just trying to take the green stuff off because you don't want to mix the paint or mix the materials, you know? So if you're trying to remove copper, are you just trying to get the copper bits off and not get the magnesium or whatever, you know? Like that we just don't know. Or can I just go and it's done? And the system sorts it all. And the system just sorts it itself. Yeah, I hate you.
No mistake goes unpunished, you know that. Dan Groper WA 6000, I get that reference. He says, wait, the Vulture makes cubes? Does that mean we need to nickname it the Wombat? It's because Wombat poos cubes, which is kind of cool.
Really? Wow, okay.
Yeah. Wombat poo comes in cubes, which is kind of cool. Does the Reclaimer use Jones from Carsten Christensen? This has been answered very comprehensively in the chat, but yes, it does. There's a whole drone control bay. Dude, do yourself a favor, just in terms of Star Citizen, next time there's a Reclaimer on offer, or you can find someone to show you around one, go and have a look. They are buggy. They need work, but just go and have a walk around one. They are so much fun, and I think they look great. But yes, there is a whole drone control bay up at the top, and I believe the last thing I saw was that those drones were to find high-value items, I think it says. So yes, probably components.
I just realized I've been playing the game this whole time, and it's been on that that titanium screen. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you missed that. I literally just walked into the train and it closed right behind me. Anyway. Oh man, how long have I had that up? And you got no one said anything.
That's been about a week and a half, that mate.
Oh dear. Yeah. So I basically brought a bunch of titanium and I brought it to ArcCorp to sell. Good. I can't believe you guys didn't see any of that. Oh, I feel so bad now.
Mate, mine scrolled down so I can basically see you, me, and the chat. And that's it. So, because I've got, although nicely, work has offered to give me a second screen for work purposes. And yes, Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, I will definitely be using it just for work purposes. That's exactly how that works.
Yep. And it's not like 250 hertz for floating purposes, so it doesn't sync.
Which is why I'll be doing chat, and my gaming monitor will be doing the normal stuff. But yes. Good stuff. We've also got
nice little bug here. No doors on the train.
Yay! Just step out. It'll be fine. Nothing will happen to you. Okay. So, Crystal King says, personally, I think Squadron will be cringeworthy.
I'm expecting it to be like, if they fail at it, like if it fails, it's. No, I don't think they can let it fail. I think that's why they're adding so much polish to it. And that's why I think it's coming at earliest next year. I think they just have to take that time to make it go from wherever it is now to... It's got to be like a 10. I honestly think it has to change. How do I say this without sounding really pretentious? But it has to kind of change the face of gaming in a way. Like, it's got to come out and just wow people. Like Wing Commander did.
Yeah, people exactly. You know, for those that don't know, Wing Commander did this thing which we all now take for granted in games, but it was the very first to do it. It pioneered this, which is the missions that you went on and what you faced was dependent on how you performed in previous missions, right? We now take that for granted, but Wing Commander pioneered that. It also pioneered, I understand, the system of wingmen. So things, if you've ever played like Dragon Age Origins or anything where you have, what's the other one, Mass Effect, where people react to you based on your choices and the NPCs react to you based on how you deal with a certain situation, that also came from Wing Commander. So don't underestimate the legacy that sits behind someone who worked on those games, because so much in gaming that we take for granted was seen first in Wing Commander. I'm
going to be back in a minute, man. I've got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, no worries.
Right
it's great because it gives me a chance to get on my rant on Squadron 42.
Yeah, and drink more mead.
And drink. Why is the mead gone? The key thing, I think, for Squadron 42 is that it needs to perform. Try and think of a game that's established a real solid following that doesn't have a decent single-player narrative to its game, or at least a decent narrative game. And I think the only ones that I can think of, I don't count Fortnite or the Tower Defense games because there's nothing to those games, right? They're just rinse and repeat. But Red Dead, Half-Life, Grand Theft Auto all had that single player. Yes, they've got the multiplayer added to them now, but not beforehand. Even World of Warcraft had Warcraft 1, 2, and 3 before they got anywhere near it. If Squadron 42 does well, Star Citizen will do well. If Squadron 42 does crap, Star Citizen will suffer, because people will start off in Squadron 42, enjoy it, and then realize that there's a whole online universe where they can do literally whatever they want. I think there's a little bit of feedback. I think Mike's X's headphones close to his mic, so apologies for that. But yeah, there's certainly that aspect to it. You know, and I think the reputational damage that CIG would suffer if they don't deliver on that game, you know, everyone's just going to jump on that as a sign that nothing's coming. Maybe the funding dries up. So they've got to deliver on Squadron 42. The idea of course, in the beginning was that they were one and the same game, effectively. You wouldn't have access to Star Citizen until you finish Squadron 42. And the idea is your character would muster out into the verse. And that's when you would start playing the multiplayer. And then, obviously, CIG realised that A, Squadron 42 was probably going to come at a very different time to Star Citizen, and that B, you can't do that to gamers, because, you know, anything that you put behind any sort of challenge, people just whinge at. So, yeah, I hear what people are saying. I'm not trying to suggest that anyone needs to be invested in Squadron 42, that they need to really care about it at all. But I think to pretend that it has no value we're just kind of kidding ourselves, really. It needs to be good. It will be the gateway drug, if you like, into Star Citizen. And we'll, you know, I'll leave it at that. So Casting Christian says, I don't remember seeing any drones. They're definitely there, dude. Top floor, between the dining area and the bridge. Going down then. Should be cancelling Squadron 42 and dedicate that team to Star Citizen. Majority of us who backed didn't realise it would turn out to be a single-player game. It was originally pitched as co-op with friends. Yeah, it was always going to be a narrative. I think they realised that drop-in, drop-out maybe doesn't work. Hopefully we still get it, but I doubt it now. They've stopped kind of talking about that at all. But see previous comments for the rest of that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know SC fan 07. He says, let's be real, once someone plays it, they won't be playing it again, especially since you can't experience it with friends. It's just a massive time sink for the past 10 years, not worth it. The Witcher. I rest my case. And yeah, they're massively different games. And people will play The Witcher through and through and through, but you could say that about any single player, right? Okay, Feathers, glad you love me, dude. Me too. And SA's gonna make... Oh, SA, you make mead. Dude, marry me. Yeah, and the other side, I suppose the other side of it, if you are absolutely not interested in Squadron 42, is if it sells well and continues to sell well, and makes lots and lots and lots and lots of money, that sets the SC up great for development. Because, of course, once you've released Squadron 42, almost all of your costs have evaporated, apart from, you know, post-game patches and updates and that sort of stuff, until they look at episode 2, because it's episodic and there will be 3. You know, all the money coming in will then switch to funding Star Citizen and subsequent episodes, and that's a good thing. Cool. Lots of conversation about whether or not people are or aren't entered into Squadron 42, and there's a pretty good split, so that's no bad thing. The new Drake vehicle is a food truck. Do not start that rumor. Don't you dare. Oh, God. Go on then, Blamsmith. I'll allow your tits comment. But I'm not going to explain what that is. I'm not going to give any context to that. People can just go find it for themselves. Good. The Drake Steptoe and Sons. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, Best Alpaca says, you could also have characters be certified in flying certain ships, and this will show up on player IDs. You said continued. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know whether it's disappeared into the ether, but I didn't see the first part of that.
What did I miss?
So I agree with you. Lots of people talking about Squadron 42. It's cool. Okay. We put that one to bed. So I'm actually putting together a video for my own channel. I'm editing it at the minute about how Star Citizen and Squadron 42 tackle the
this is like your first
tutorial.
This is like your first video in like 6 months, I think. Yeah,
it is. It's in almost 9 now.
Oh, jeez.
So it won't be the first videos. There are other ones that are coming fast, but it will be there shortly. And one of the things that I'm going to mention is, you know, for us at the moment, it's really easy to learn the gameplay loops because we're getting them one at a time and drip fed. So when the game starts, we're going to have experience of mining and refining and salvage and all that because there was nothing else to do at the time. It's just like, yeah, well, I'll give it a go and maybe I'll like it and maybe I won't.
Can I be selfish and ask you a question?
Sure.
Has Inforunners had influence on you? And I mean that on your own stuff, like that you do? Well, I'm curious.
Give me 2 seconds, and while I think about that, I'll just answer this one for Alpaca. But, you know, so how do we deal with new players that come in that have all these gameplay loops? And the gameplay loops aren't just run up to this mine, right-click on it, empty it into your inventory, like mining in pretty much every other game out there, right? They're going to need some system, and maybe there is some sort of in-game system of certification like Eve had, or has, like World of Warcraft tried to do, where it had tanking, healing, damage, basically tests that you had to go through, and then you would get the achievement for that. The idea being that people could just go, just show me you've got the tanking gold achievement and we'll take you as a tank, which never actually happened, but that was what they were aiming for.
So the tutorial is a certification. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so, you know, and then maybe there are levels of it, and much like the bounty hunting certification, you have it for everything. So maybe the intermediate level for mining is using the mining gadgets and changing out mining heads and stuff like that. So yeah, that certainly could go that way. Great. We've got Eva Carty Charlie patch has just come out. Patch C. Great.
Nice.
SA sharing his love for the Reclaimer. That's what we like.
You just like SA love, let's be honest.
I'm not going to lie. I am. Cobra 9 Delta says, do you think we will see stellar movement of planetary bodies within the systems further into the game's development? They're working on it. I think it's providing them some challenges.
They literally had a post come out yesterday about seasons. They've confirmed seasons and planetary rotations and off-axis planets and all that stuff. It's all been confirmed in like the last 24 hours, which is weird because we just did an episode on it like not that long ago, like literally last weekend. We did an episode, so yeah, that was really weird timing.
Yeah, and Stinkfinger as well. Thank you for answering that. Has put that into the chat as well.
Yeah,
cool. I liked killing my wingman and wing commander back in the day. Says Dell, you monster, get out.
Yeah.
So. Oh my god. They can just add one scene with some tits being shot off. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
There's always one person that goes too far. But anyway.
So Dell says, what happens to Star Citizen if Squadron 42 flops? Look.
Kind of dead in the water, to be honest. I think it'd be dead in the water.
I think there's a core of us that will always push for it. And, you know, it's not like I'm going to bankrupt myself to help the game. I think what you would probably see, bizarrely, is CIG push for an earlier release with less features and then go into what I think we're going to get anyway, which is like a rolling development model where even after release, they're going to be talking about a gold standard pass on this, a next tier implementation of that. And they're just going to keep adding stuff. They'll add new gameplay loops at Tier 0. They'll add more to that as well. Hopefully a lot faster than we're getting at the minute. But I think...
Well, all those new people they're hiring, they're hiring them for Star Citizen, where what we have right now will probably move directly over onto Episode 2 when that comes out. So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Stinkfinger says, I got the feeling Squadron 42 would have different career paths that will open up special ships and such, that will be repeat playability and those items transfer to live.
I think it's a lot more combat orientated than anything else. I don't think you'll like be able to unlock a prospector or something like that. I think it's more combat orientated. No. And clearly, like from the get go, the what was that ship? The F8. The F8 Lightning, that was always been like the end game ship of Squadron 42. Like that's the one you'll get for completing campaign. You'll be able to buy that in game because of that. So yeah, buy that in SC, I should say.
But yes, so
priorities.
But I think you're absolutely right in that Star Citizen will absolutely have that. And you know that'll be present in the game, so you know I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, lots of stuff being deleted by users. Fine. Question: what do you think about the idea of in-game player ID cards? They could be used to show player criminal records and certifications and stuff. Sorry, the first part of my question is lost. What do you reckon, X? Do you want to lead on that one?
So what was it? Profiles for...
So what do you think about the idea of in-game player ID cards? They could be used to show player criminal records and certifications and such. Sorry, the first part of my question was lost. So this was the second part he was talking about training.
The problem with being able to track criminal records, it makes it really hard to actually play as a pirate. So I don't know that part. The actual certificate stuff though is pretty cool. Like if you could have some kind of, you know, here's my Mobiglass, and it goes, these are all my certifications. So that part I can get behind. The profile of criminal record though can be a bit again, if you can go into a hacking station, just delete it. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough because again, we don't know those full loops to be able to comment like what it needs and what it doesn't needs. You know, we're talking a couple of years away for that stuff. So, yeah, you just got to think of gameplay balance every time, and that's hard to do when you don't know all the dots, and you know they don't share a lot of stuff because let's be honest, they haven't designed a lot of it yet. That's why they don't share it. Yeah.
Blounsmith says, do you think we will ever see missions where you join the crew of an NPC-controlled ship to teach mining on a mole, for example?
Yeah. I could totally see that as a thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The Rock DS, 100%, is something for Squadron 42 that I think is along that vein, where maybe the NPC is driving and you are mining and it's driving you around. That's why it's been designed, so it can literally put you on rails.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could see that 100%.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no. And Stinkfinger absolutely allowed that comment. Stinkfinger says, speaking of boobies, I want to make my caterpillar into a mobile strip club, and I want to visit. So there we are.
Each to their own. I think maybe an 890 jump might be a bit more classy for that establishment. Just FYI.
Yeah. To Be Reckless says, anyone else who can't wait until the Perseus is released, it's together with a fully functional Reclaimer, my most anticipated ship. Yeah, marry me, dude. You and me both. Perseus, I think, well, my thoughts are well known on the Perseus. I'm a massive fan of it.
He hates it. Yeah.
And Reclaimer. It's basically the two ships that I would choose between. So, right there with you.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you said you wanted to buy a Reclaimer.
Oh yeah. And then Blounsmith said it would be great to see some more NPC-driven missions. Yeah, it really, really would. Blamsmith wants to create an alt account to play as a space stripper. I would probably pay you money to keep your clothes on.
I'd pay him to put. I was about to say I'd pay you to put clothes back on, maybe, but yeah.
And there is the idea for your OnlyFans. If you don't donate, I'm taking it off. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. More NPC-driven missions. I think. At the moment, obviously, the easiest way for the service to understand that you want a mission is you accept a mission that's already created, you go to the place, you do the thing, you come back, you get the stuff, rinse and repeat, right? That is absolutely not what they have in mind for long term. And I see a lot of things. The best one I think you can do, if you want to see what they've got in mind, and I say this all the time, go to Crusader. If you haven't done the mission already, or to remind yourself, find the PI wanted, as in Personal Investigator wanted. You'll go to Covalex Shipping Hub, Gundo. You'll do an investigation where you go around the station, you find different terminals that are open, you find different pads, and you listen to audio recordings, you read messages. And basically what you're trying to do is find out whether or not the woman who hired you, her husband, was responsible for the incident that trashed Gundo and killed a bunch of people, right? Because as far as Covalex are concerned, he's responsible. What's great about that is there's no one answer.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you have enough evidence, you hand it in. So you can make him responsible, you can make Covalex responsible, you can find the truth of it, which is something else entirely.
Different rep outcomes as well.
Exactly. That, you know, and what's interesting is a little later on you get another message from her which changes depending on what happens. So if you, for example, if you make him responsible, she'll message you about 20 minutes after you've done the mission and just say, hi, I just wanted to let you know Covalex have made good, all, you know, I've been made whole again. Thank you ever so much for clearing my husband's name. Here's a little bit extra to say thank you. And I hope they port that across to all missions, where all missions you just get the chance to go, do you know what? I'm done with this now. And maybe that ends the mission. Maybe it farms it out for other people. Maybe you can get to the point where you go, right, to continue this mission, I need to be able to do repair stuff, but I don't like repair. So now I'm going to farm it out and a repair crew pick it up. So you actually hand over to other players, or if the players don't take it, the NPCs rock up and go, hello, we are NPC repair crew, we'll do it.
I want it to go even further, that if you actually are in the system that she's in, and you turn up, she wants to take you out to dinner or some shit, you know, or you know, or you can meet her somewhere in the real world and she remembers you, you know. I want those type of things, like those, you know, like maybe you don't go somewhere for literally 3 years and you come back and they remember you from the mission that you did that saved their life or whatever, and you know, and they'll try and do, maybe they own a shop and they'll sell you something cheaper or something rare or something, you know. I want those type of things. I want lasting consequences.
Yeah absolutely. Agreed.
I was just going to say real quick too, that PI mission is easily the best mission in the entire game at the moment. Was waiting to say that. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely, because it. And again, like we said, there's a reason there's only one of them in the game, and it's alpha. And I know people go, yeah, alpha, it's the same old excuse. Well, no, they've proved that it works. They've proved, you know, because I've never had that mission go wrong on me. They've proved that it works. They will add that more as time goes on and they get round to the content side of stuff. We'll see a lot more of it.
They have tweaked that mission several times over the years too, but it is probably easily the most developed mission. And if that's a test bed for other missions down the line, it's quite exciting to see where it could go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it.
And there's no shooting in that. It's completely just. It's just non-violent. It's literally an exploration mission of sorts, you know. So that's another thing we didn't even talk about on the Reclaimer. Now I think about it, is actually going in through and clearing out ships and stuff. That's a whole another section on that. That's a discussion for another day, though.
Yeah. I mean, if people are interested in that, not to plug my own shit on the Inforunners channel,
go for it. I don't mind.
But I had a video released back in March 2021 called "What Will Future Missions Look Like?" or what future missions will look like. And at the end of that, I describe kind of what I think one of those missions with the option to bang out with lasting consequences. X was talking about, you know, something that feels like you're actually making a difference. I describe a scenario that at some length, I think it's about 6 minutes or so, which basically ends up with the idea that you could get an NPC who will work for your crew as a crew member as a reward. So if you're interested, go check that out.
Like a slave banner or something? Or...
Well, I mean, just a guy who basically you offer him salvation or you offer him redemption, and he takes it. And one of the nice things about that is what would really make that feel different to other games. So in this, he basically, the love of his life is lost because of something that he chooses to do. And what would be really cool and tie it all together would be every so often you're walking through the ships, you know, you catch this guy, he's at his bunk, and he's just looking at a picture of it. Right? You wouldn't need voice lines. It wouldn't need massive amounts of programming. He's just looking at a picture of it, and instantly you go, that's why I've got this guy on board in the first place. And little touches like that that can absolutely be procedurally generated as part of a mission would just blow my mind. And, you know, like having that feeling of there are things on this ship that are specific to me and what I have done.
The closest thing to that right now would probably be the companion system in SOTOR. That's the closest I can think of. Where they'll send you messages after quests and stuff. So you'll get an email saying from one of your companions saying, "Oh, thanks for that, blah blah blah. I really appreciate it." And the other thing is, because of your alignment, the dark and light side, you can't please all of them. So you have to pick and choose who you're going to be, you know. And maybe companions will leave over time. Maybe you can go back and, you know, grind rep with them to earn their trust back, but then maybe you'll lose it from someone else. So maybe you can, over time, go between companions. That means you'd have this cyclic system of new companions that come in and leave. And what if there are companions that are locked to different areas of the world? So if you leave somewhere because they're Banu and they don't want to leave Banu space or something like that, just a thought.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. You know, they can do what they want with this. Barnsmith, I've just mentioned in the comments, Drinkers with Gaming Problems is my channel. So yeah, go and have a look.
Hence all the mead. Hence all the mead.
Yes. But yes, go and have a look and you know, say hi. I will be back on there shortly. There's been a bit of a hiatus, mainly because my work's been hectic, and also the work that I do sometimes doesn't have very good outcomes, and that unfortunately happened last year. So I've not been in the right space really for a while now, but I am returning to it. X asked me a little while ago whether or not I've been influenced by Inforunners, and the answer to that is absolutely yes. What I think, and I say this not as an Inforunner, but as another content creator in the Star Citizen space, what I think Inforunners does that no other channel does is that it brings that. If we're talking about mining, X goes out of his way to find us someone who knows about mining. He's gone out of his way to find you someone who knows about naval military. We've got army military. Hopefully we're going to get some stuff to do with intelligence done soon. Bit of a heads up for what's coming soon. You know, and what you've done a really good job of here is we get people who know what they're talking about. And yes, loads of real world stuff is absolutely boring and has nothing whatsoever to do with the game. But there are little tidbits hidden away in there that people go, that would be great to have that in the game. I absolutely see how this would work. And I had that experience with Tecton the other day, I think, where he was describing stuff. And I was just like, I get it. I get how all of this would work now. I can see it in the game, and it would be interesting.
I had the exact
same. You've done a really good job with that, mate. You really have.
Thanks.
And it's why I hang around, because, you know, you made it clear from the beginning that, you know, I said to you when you reached out to me that I don't have any other creator kind of community to go to. And you made it clear that whatever happened, you know, however long I was around in this community, I had that creator community now. You know, I could come to you with questions and guidance, and we could go through videos together, and you could help me with all my editing skills, all of that sort of stuff, which has been fantastic.
And that happens with all the others too, because we all have strengths and weaknesses and stuff. So, like, I'm really good with the thumbnails, for example. So I've helped Paul and Space, and I haven't helped you yet, but I'm more than willing to.
Absolutely.
But you know, and Paul's really good at the lore, and he knows a lot about the YouTube statistics and stuff. So we've all been kind of helping each other in the background. That's just stuff that you guys obviously don't see. But it as a content creator, it's always just nice to have other content creators. Like to give an example, if Paul needs someone in a total pinch for a show, one of us is there, you know, that type of thing. So
I think we've all done that by now, haven't we?
We've all been on. And if we just need a break too, like one of the others is there to pick up the slack, you know. So it goes every which way. And I say it all the time, and you'll hear Space Tomato say it now, is when I say stronger together and stuff like that. It's just easier to work with each other than work against each other.
And what's I don't know if it comes across. I'd be really, let us know. You know, I fucking hate saying it because it sounds like such a cliche. But do you guys get the feeling that we massively disagree with each other at times? Because we do, and I just feel like what happens is, although we massively disagree with each other, it's expressed in such a positive way, and trying to find a way through stuff that it doesn't come across as a disagreement.
No.
We do. I mean, we're at loggerheads all the time, and you know, when we're not on the channel, there's plenty of shouting and all that sort of stuff, which doesn't make for a good episode because we're all talking over each other and all that sort of stuff. But once it comes to an episode, it's just about giving everyone their chance to talk, and then looking at it and evaluating what's been said positively. And okay, well, how does that work, and how does that change what I think? And you know, I've genuinely enjoyed being in Inforunners. I wouldn't have even entertained the idea of joining if I hadn't. And
I think that's the other part of it too. Like when I said has Inforunners influenced you, I could actually go further and say, have you had independent Inforunners influence you. And I don't think I've had I've probably been here longer than you, so I don't know if you've I've had every single Inforunner at some point change my mind on something. And you have to be willing to be wrong. That's the hardest thing about doing these really big group talks, is you have to be willing to listen and let someone actually change your mind. And I think as humans, we have this natural ability to put up walls, and you just have to have the wall. That's why it doesn't look like arguments with us, because we have enough respect to hear the other person out and go, all right, well, I disagree with you, and we'll leave it there. You know, and that's why we can talk about other topics too. So we will talk about everything that's going on in the world right now, all these different hot issues that normal people would see too taboo to talk about, because we can walk away and still be friends. And there are things Badges and I like. The political things that him and I disagree on, but that doesn't matter because we've got other things we do agree on. You know, so
yeah, absolutely, and that's it. You know, I think. It's been the key, and something else that you've said a couple of times now that sticks in my head is the whole when you speculate. Is, you know, speculation as one person, like I do on my channel, can be so dangerous. Because you just walk yourself down a rabbit hole, and if you've got anything wrong at the beginning, everyone's just like, yeah, but none of that's going to happen because you got that bit wrong. And it just becomes a whole wasted effort. And you do that too many times, you're going to devalue yourself. And you know, people won't want to watch. Because, like, the other thing you said that sticks into my head, and I keep saying this to people, you know, I've responded to comments in my videos as myself in other spaces. So no one has any idea that I'm connected to it. You know, and people go, well, I don't trust anything that Drinkers with Gaming Problems has to say because of all the money he gets from CIG. It's like, first off, I don't get any money from CIG. Secondly, I don't get any money from YouTube, right? And
I think I'm hated. I think I'm hated by CIG personally. I don't think they like me at all. Like, because I turn people off buying certain ships because I think they're bad value. You know,
you said to me right at the beginning, it was like, nobody goes into this field to get rich. You know, maybe you are morphologist, maybe you are board gamer, and you just hit that sweet spot. You know, Morph is his production value is so high. I've got so much time for his videos. They are genuine. Like, I don't like watching Morph's videos on the run. I like it when I get to sit down, I get to chill out, I get like ready for Morph's videos. Let's watch this. You know, it's a proper kind of event. Whereas Board Gamer just, you know, proves that some people don't read. So, you know, you've kind of got those niches. But for us, I mean, I'm never getting rich doing this. I'm doing this because I love it. And I'm doing this because I want other people to love it. The game.
So what they actually say is you need about 100,000 subscribers to live off it. Right? So we're at 12,000. And there's like multiples of us and stuff like that. So like, and then you've got what yourself? What are you at? 5,000 or something like that?
Yeah, I wish, mate. I busted 1650 the other day. Somehow, despite being 9 months without a video, it's still creeping up at a couple per day, which is terrifying.
You got Space Tomato at about 25k. You've got Paul that's very rapidly catching us where we're at now.
The original Star Citizen ASMR. I could listen to that dude talk forever. Sorry if you're watching this.
Keep in your pants.
But I could.
Yeah. He doesn't get embarrassed when you say that to him either. That's the weird thing. he just takes all in his stride. I love it. Like, you try to embarrass the man and you just can't. It's great. So
That's a legend.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and that, I think that's the other thing that I found. So I met Board Gamer back at CitizenCon 2949. The one thing that I absolutely love about this community and why I want to try and get to every CitizenCon is just the community is fucking brilliant.
Something about being in a room when everyone else you just relate to. Like, normally you go to a party or an outing or something like that, and you got to sift through the people to find like-minded people. You just walk into something like that, and everyone you can relate to. It's the same thing when you jump on a Discord channel. You just know you can relate to the people in that Discord channel because they're there for the same reason you are.
Yeah. You know, and we went to, so the night before there was a bit of an impromptu bar citizen at a bar close by. It had all been organised beforehand, so we went up, and there were some people just stood on their own, and it was great because you walked up, you had a common frame of reference, and there were so many people that we'd end up kind of talking to, and you'd catch them again the following day throughout the venue, and it would all be like, it was almost like a Disneyland vibe. It was like, oh great, what have you been up to? Have you seen this? No, you gotta go and see that'd be great. And then you all part ways and go and do stuff again. It's and I know we're kind of looking hopefully for the first opportunity to all meet in person at a Citizen Con. But yeah.
I'm about as far from a CIG studio. I think the only person that could be further from me is people on the South Island of New Zealand, and that's on the bottom half. So that's not many people. So like realistically, I'm pretty much as far as I could possibly be from a CIG studio. So I've literally got to cross the world to get there. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, Sun Groper WA 6000 says execute. What happened to your Twitch streams? What about that dude that bought you up 100 gifted subs for everyone? Yeah. He didn't say that last bit. I added that just for a little bit.
Yeah. Guilt. I want to do more streams, but I just get... I feel like a crazy person when I'm talking to myself. Like, I won't do these streams alone. Like, he was talking about not coming. I said, oh, cool, no worries. We just won't do it then. Because I feel like a crazy person. Like, and I want interaction with chat, and I'll be on there and people will be talking, but they just want to watch. And it's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the interaction and stuff. So if you're not going to interact with me, then I won't bother streaming. But I keep telling myself I would like to stream every day for a week just to see what happens. There's a few people that have been saying, why am I not streaming? And that's why. I just want interaction. And yes, I know I've probably got to build that with the Twitch chat, but it just... I have because of my bipolar, I've probably got a shorter attention span than most. So yeah.
Blamsmith says a little while ago, and I get this reference too, the man they call Jane, which is from Firefly.
Yeah.
When Jane goes back to a planet and finds out that his dastardly escape plan was completely misinterpreted, and he's actually ended up being the hero on that planet, and he's not. But yeah, I tell you what, if I can't live like in a Firefly-esque manner, space cowboys living on the fringe, sticking it to the man, living from fuel stop to fuel stop, I'm going to be really upset with this game.
Yeah.
It's such a... Oh, there you go. Essay says, dude, let's stream some Star Citizen, then I'll commit to a session a week.
Yeah, it's just hard. Awesome. It's just hard for me. Yeah, So that's what I was always asking people. Like, if you notice, every stream of it I did, there was someone there with me every time, because I need that back and forth, even if it's just one person. I'm one of those people that bounce off other people, and if I'm on my own, I'm just flat as shit. And because of if you know how bipolar 2 works, it's basically chronic depression. I get in this mental cycle where I just spiral downwards, and so it's just bad. Yeah. But when I'm around other people, I am totally fine. But if I'm kind of there in my own headspace, and I'm going to be honest, you're always driving as well in the background, and you're thinking, oh, what do I do next? What am I doing next? Where am I going to go? What quest am I going to do? Stuff like that. Hang on. Let's try for a second. Sorry, otherwise this rock's going to explode.
So chat has kind of petered out a little bit. Okay, so chat. What gameplay loop would you like to see that CIG have not mentioned yet? Just give us some. It doesn't even need an explanation. Just give us a Blamsmith stripper doesn't count. But just give us like a one word or a sentence answer.
I don't think we'll see strippers, to be honest, because it's too woke. So
I think if Blamsmith gets his way, we will absolutely see strippers, whether we want to or not.
What do you call it? So it's face over IP, nipples over IP, like.
Oh god! Right, face over IP is the worst decision I think I've ever heard, because you're going to walk through a bar and you're just going to see some dude, and you're going to be like, he's alt tabbed out, he's on Pornhub.
Yeah.
and it's just going to be so obvious, right? You imagine being that dude tabbing back in, and there's just a group of people stood around you or watching you. Like, I'm going to go die in a fire now.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny because it's true. That's why.
Stinkfinger wants to run his own cartel, making drugs.
Ooh,
no.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Endeavor will.
That. I want to do that. That's for sure.
Nice. What else have we got? Come on, hit me with it. Let's do this.
Well, tell us yours then. What's something you want to see in game?
Very, very good question.
Yeah, see, he didn't like it when you turn it back on himself. he just grumbles.
Cooking, says St. Micah. That's great. Crystal King wants to be an arms dealer. I like that. I genuinely think there's room for that within the trading gameplay. That will be more formalized than just buying stuff from one dealer and taking it to another.
There's going to be some statistic guy out there that just wants to be a slaver and just deal in. Like, I can see that already.
Just people. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're mine now. Negativity lives up to his name. He says, the only thing I want out of this game is things and places to fight over. There's no purpose in PvP right now, so what's the point? Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take that, run with it a little bit. Like, theaters of war. Like, you look at all the Call of Duties and all the battlefields, they mean nothing. You're actually fighting over something that's valuable. Whoa. It takes it up a notch.
Well, you know what? That's it. And negativity, actually, I don't know whether you intended to or not, but actually hits on something really, really important here, is you can cut down the griefing and just the general, jackassery with things like crime stat. But you've got to be careful you don't push it too far the other way.
Mm-hmm.
People have to have, with death of a spaceman, with permadeath, with the risk that carries to your character, you have to have a reason to fight over things. And like negativity says at the minute, the only thing you get out of fighting is crime stat and a stint in jail.
Yeah, it's way too... Look, I think we can all agree it's way too weighted towards good guys, so to speak, at the moment. And I do think with Pyro, we're going to see a fundamental shift. The black to the white, so to speak.
Yeah. It's a really good point, mate. It really is. I wonder whether we could get something like, what about planets that are at war, and you can only land in certain areas on them because other areas are no-fly zones, and you can actually join in kind of like almost like a foreign legion style. I know this is tying in like to Ukraine. I'm not meaning it to, but you can tie into some sort of fight. And you join the ground offensive and stuff, and potentially what happens on that planet determines whether or not it's another planet that falls to Vandul, or whether you start drawing a line in the sand. That would be really cool. I like that. Essay says social mechanics like Star Wars Galaxies. Oh, Star Wars Galaxies had. It gave a huge amount of depth to cities. Yeah.
I could literally see planets at war where there are different sectors of the planet and they have different effects. So, like, one helps with, energy, one helps with food production, and you've got to take those different things and you so there's constant up and down of their supplies, and you've got to help them maintain it, or they lose the planet completely, and then they can't go back to the planet for X number of time. I could, and whoever holds the planet gets some kind of massive bonus. If they're a part of that faction, like I could see so many different ways of doing it.
You could do that so well with the PvP stuff. Sorry, the PvE stuff as well. You got Vandal attacking. If you want to get players into one space and get them all working together, you've got players bringing medical supplies, ammunition, materiel. You've got bringing troops to the front line potentially. You've got the combat air patrol controlling the space around the planet. You've got landing things on the planet. You've got people running tank squadrons and tank platoons and all that sort of stuff. You've got a whole chain there potentially that would work really well for getting players to work together. Stinkfinger says he'd really like to see data collection. Yep.
I think data is going to be one of the biggest things in the game, quite honestly. I think everything runs through data. You know, if you're an explorer, you're selling data. If you're you're selling a ship, that's data.
Yeah,
because it's got to travel to go to other places to let people know that you're trying to sell it. You know, if you're a cargo, you're getting data on what the rates are for a particular system that they're selling it at and stuff like that. So everything goes through data. Everything.
Absolutely. Just reading ahead slightly, SA says C2C interfaces. Just for the people that may not be familiar with military jargon, mate, do you want to just put a quick explanation of C2 and C2C in, just so people understand what we're talking about? And when we get to that point in the chat, we'll have a talk about it. Data collection. I kind of hope we don't get a mapping system, so we can't just say, okay, these coordinates on this planet are where our mining base is.
I'd like it if it's like a grid, so D7, but then you've got to search within the area to find it, or do your own scans to narrow it down.
Well, I'd love to see something that says, you can create a waypoint, but that waypoint is just created like a mission marker, right? We don't get coordinates for mission markers, they just appear. So we can manually create our own. But in order to get that back to the rest of the org, that has to be taken and downloaded to one of the org's mainframes. So that's where the danger in data running comes. Because if someone intercepts that, they go, don't know what it is, but I've got a marker from this org here, so I'm going to go and have a look and find out what it is. And then data becomes real. When we did CitizenCon 2949, I was lucky enough to be there, as I've mentioned previously. And one of the things they said was, if you've not seen that presentation, is they said, oh, well, what we'd really like to happen is we'd really like to have players have to figure out where they are. But we accept that if you have, third-party voice comms like Discord, all they'll do is they'll load that up and tell each other. So I managed to catch the chap who gave the speech in a corridor, and I just said to him, I said, there is another way to look at this, is if you don't give them the information, right? So imagine you're captured as a pirate or as a criminal, and once there are multiple prisons in the game, the prison that you go to is randomized. Maybe it's one of the 3 closest prisons to wherever it was you were captured.
Yeah.
So now you can't tell people what you don't know. So the way you neutralize third-party communications, if you don't have a coordinate system, I can't tell you the coordinates. I can't say it's this bit on this planet, because how does that help anyone? So by creating data and making it something that is only the game understands, you make it something that is, so data isn't just another form of cargo, is what I'm getting at. Data becomes actual information that is important to you. And seeing something like that, I think, would be amazing.
What about knowing the looks of prisons, though? So if you work in an area like there's a yellow prison, a red prison, and a black prison, as soon as you spawn, you know where you are, because
that's a really good reason to have them more standardized.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. Or maybe that's the familiarity that comes with being a criminal. Yes, you could look that up online, I guess, and figure that out. But the other thing is, of course, is there's other ways of finding out where you are. Then maybe you need to go somewhere where the blanking field isn't as effective, so you can get your mobiGlas out and actually figure out where you are on the star map. Maybe you need to spend some of the credits and that you earn in the prison to convince someone to tell you. Maybe you find it out by eavesdropping on the guards. Maybe you can convince another human to tell you and hope that they're telling you the truth. Because obviously if you escape and your mates turn up to the wrong prison 3 systems away, you dead. So yeah, there's plenty of capabilities for data. Wicked Gaming says, what have we actually heard about data running from CIG? a lot of what we've talked about is just speculation. X, do you want to clarify?
There's just not a lot. They just they like so little on all professions, man. Like, and so a lot of it is looking at real world counterparts and stuff like that. It's all we have. All we can actually do is just that's why exactly we kind of discovered that with that episode we did with you and Osiris on the what was the very first one we did? The
Search and Rescue.
Yeah, on rescue stuff, and I went, I wonder if this will work with other people. And then I tried it with I started searching for like a geologist and a miner, and it worked on that too. So I went to something else and something else and something else, and it is working. We're learning a depth and level that we just haven't learned. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that simple, but it is that simple. And that's not a very big series. There's only 4 or 5 episodes in the whole thing, but I get more out of those episodes personally than anything else we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things, what we don't have in what CIG have said explicitly about data running, we do have in their general design philosophy. And one of the things I keep coming back to is they don't want there to be a clear choice in anything, which is why I have real issues with the Redeemer. They don't want there to be a clear choice in anything. Everything is supposed to have pros and cons. There should be a reason to take anything. There aren't ships that will ever become obsolete.
It's really obvious. Armor. It doesn't have the armor, and the armor's not in game yet, so that choice is not evident at the moment. But it will be once armor comes in. It's got high shields, no armor. Yeah. So it'll make it like an in and out vehicle. Like it'll have to go in. It shields the fuck off, and then you got to go out again to recharge the shields. So it just can't just sit there and take hits. Well, the Hammerhead is armored, so he can just sit there for days going blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we do know is that they don't want things to feel samey. So whatever they're going to do with data running, they are going to do their level best to make it not cargo. So going down then, Negativity had a response. He was the one that was saying about we need a reason to fight over things, and he says, I'm an old Eve player, or she, apologies if I got that wrong, I'm an old Eve player, so I enjoy fighting over resources and don't see any point in PvP if there's no risk. It's just griefing at that point. I don't want to devolve into metagame Eve though. I'm not experienced in metagame Eve, so I'm not quite sure what you're at there. But yes, fighting for a reason, absolutely. Killing stuff just to prove you can kill stuff, which is what we're getting now. A lot of it, I'm with you. I understand. I see where you're coming from there. Corporation wars, yes, definitely. It'll be interesting to see whether they go down the Eve route of giving us almost complete control over the PR engine. So for those that don't know, Eve is made up of corporations, player-made corporations. All of the lore is, or almost all of the lore is player-made. You have races, and you have factions within those races, and they have lore, but that's it. Everything else, corporations, space control, all of that is down to the players. So there's this entire PR role play propaganda machine thing that some players, they don't even play the game. They are only involved in the PR and the propaganda. They make videos, they do press releases, they do interviews, written interviews or face-to-face interviews in character, and that's how Eve goes. It'll be interesting to see how far down that route CIG give corporations kind of leverage to play, because it's clearly not going to be all the way, because they have their own law system. If players suddenly go, well, we've entered into a pact with the Messer Resurgent movement, CIG don't want to be duty bound to then honour that.
I'm fully expecting people will have their own news channels within a certain system. And the more you pay, you'll have to pay to actually be able to broadcast in other systems and stuff like that. And they will earn money from subscribers or whatever that subscribe to their news channel. So you might even have a channel that's just all focused on mining. These are the hot places today. And that person's whole gameplay will literally just be finding out the best places to mine for today and disseminating that information. And people will pay them for that, because then it's the same as kind of like Board Gamer at the moment. You know, people don't want to read the whole patch notes or the monthly report. He just goes through it and goes, go here, here, and here. And you can do it in 2 minutes and just watch the whole... Like, the shorter the better, quite honestly. Like, it might be 30 seconds long, but you'll pay for that, because that's all you need is that bit of info, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving down then... SA says, sorry, man. No, it's all good, mate. I know us military types very quickly retreat into the whole abbreviations and stuff. So he says,
he does.
Command and control interfaces like interactive maps with trackers, order issuing, battle tracking, fleet management, and even commercial org management, etc. Yeah. So effectively, C2 command and control is how you kind of, if you've ever seen something like Generation Kill, they talk about blue force trackers where you can see where your units are in real time. I'm sure we're going to get something similar to that. The stretch goals mention a fleet command module for larger ships like the Idris and the Javelin, and I'm pretty sure that's where they are. So hopefully SA, your wish will come true there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with great distance. So whether that's a proximity thing and the stuff close to you, and then stuff further away becomes updated less and less, and you know there's less kind of detail in what you find out because of the distance. That'll be really interesting to see. I want to see all the games made for ship sales turned into arcade games in-game. I wouldn't put it past CIG.
Yeah, I reckon Hyper Vanguard Forces arcade machine is a real thing. Wouldn't be surprised. Wait, do you mean like put Wing Commander on an arcade machine? That'd be pretty funny. And Freelance on an arcade machine. That'd be pretty cool. If that's what he means.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah. I do want to show you something on the roadmap in a bit when I have parked this. Prospector, and
we're almost at the end of the comments again. So we've got SA says to Riddick, they'll leave slavery in, as well as indentured servitude, as well as other evil things, but that doesn't mean non-NPCs will be able to have or sell slaves. Yeah, I think that's the safe bet. There will be lots of bad things, maybe not all of which we can participate in, or if we do, we'll very quickly suffer for it. So yeah. And then Crystal King says, here's an idea for an in-game news broadcast. Revenant Pod Monthly. I doubt they'll make it. They can make it a week.
Rodent Pod Monthly, or like collecting the roadkill or something.
Revenant Pod Monthly, sorry.
Oh, Revenant.
Yeah, do you know what? The Reliant Mako, for me, is still one of the most interesting ships. The Reliant that has a camera and reporting kit attached to it. Because what that means for Star Citizen and what that opens up for us would be amazing. And I mean, look at Twitch. You can imagine if CIG had like a verified program for people with news channels. So you could actually appear in game, for example. And, you know, obviously you'd have to have...
I don't think that's going to be the only ship we get that gets that feature, though. Honestly, I don't. I think it's something they'll pass on to some other ship too.
No, I think they've potentially kind of...
Can you imagine if you had an 890 jump that was like a TV studio that flew around?
Wouldn't that be good?
I could so see that, and you could have like green screens that you put up in the ship, and they work as well. Like I could see that as all as a thing.
And the Caterpillar version, which is just one of the cargo pods that, you know, has some green felt, like sellotape to one of the walls, and you know.
You really don't like Drake, do you? But yeah, okay,
no,
sure.
I love Drake, but I love pushing on the kind of, you know, a couple of plastic garden chairs put out as an interview set. You know, between two ferns with Zach Galifianakis, that would be great.
Between two moons, or something like
that. Yeah, between two systems with Zach Galifianakis.
Between two jump points or something. I don't know. We'll come up with a name. That's funny.
Sangroper WA 6000 wants to nail our asses to the wall. They say, with Fleet Week and Alien Week coming up, do you think we will get a new Alien concept ship? Also, do you want to take a guess on what it will be?
So the only
over to you.
Yeah, because you never like to take guesses. He's not good at the whole taking a gamble on a guess. Like I say, I think the obvious one's the bomber, a star bomber. We've talked about that a few times, so I won't beat that dead horse. I'm expecting at least 3. That's usually common at these big sales. So if that's, I'd say in the middle, like $150 to $200 price point. If that goes any higher, holy shit, there's a problem. Like if they put it up to the Ares, there's an issue there. So that would leave something, you know, what's the smallest we've ever seen? The Ballista at 120 or 115 or something like that it was. So that's, you're looking at something around the $100 price point and then something 300 and up. So, could we see something in the mid-range finally? You know, like something more salvage coming online? Just throwing that out there. You know, equivalent to the mole, but for salvage. Could that be a thing? Maybe. Could it be alien? Maybe. And then obviously it'll be some form of vehicle, I reckon, if I had to guess under $100. You know, something that is theaters of war tailored. So I'd probably, you know, you could, man, there's so many vehicles that they could do. We've talked about this before: fuel trucks, medical trucks, mining trucks, you know, salvage trucks, like anything that's in space, just take it and put it on the planet. You know, you've got your. Man, I can't talk. I just realized because I've got to do this prospector at the same time, so I have to talk and walk. Otherwise I'm going to blow up. But yeah, you get where I'm going. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What about you? What are your thoughts? Like, take your best guess, because I know you don't like to do that. But
I you know, with stuff like this, more than happy.
He's just asking for a guess.
Just kind of at a loss as where it is. I think what we lack at the moment, from my perspective, is the big stuff. So we got the Banning Matchman. What are the other alien capitals? Are there other alien capitals? Yeah,
way back in the day there was Zion capitals and stuff like that. So I would consider the Banning Matchman a capital. I would be honest, like if you read into the lore of the Zion, they are very much on the exploring vein. They're really into that exploring thing. I wouldn't be surprised if their ship wasn't somehow some kind of science vessel, somewhere between a Carrack and an Endeavour is what I'd kind of expect.
Yeah, I think science, because at the moment exploration, to my mind, is overpopulated. Or maybe we look at some sort of, maybe there's some sort of alien-style drone ship. I know when we were
that's been talked about a few times.
Yeah, we were doing another series and they talked about drone ships. I think it was more warfare-based or carrier-based. And someone mentioned drone ship, and I really like the idea. Combat drones, I really like the idea of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly something, because I love what they've done with the Asperia stuff. I love that cockpit. I love the look. I love that they've gone down. All right, avian stuff might be low-hanging fruit in terms that it's easy for us to kind of image. You know, the minute you put the avian helmet on, it's like, oh, that's a bird helmet. You know, anyone could identify that. You don't need to play games to see that. But I love what they've done with that. The Vandal have quite a nice, unique look. You know, the Banning Matchman's just, it's shaping up to be such a beautiful, unique looking ship.
I have to ask this: how jealous do you think 890 Jump owners are going to end up being of Banning Matchman owners? Because I think this is kind of comes back to what I've been saying. Like, they can look good, but they've got to have gameplay as well. And I just think the Banning Matchman's got both. It's probably going to look better and have more gameplay. And that's the whole thing I've been saying the whole time. Like, I don't hate Origin. I just want it to do more.
Completely different purposes.
Yeah.
But yes, I think the Banning Matchman's going to be a bit of a stick in the craw for a lot of 890 Jump. But then again, I like the 890 Jump. I hope they do really well with the gameplay to make it worth the while for people who've invested into it.
I really think they need
maybe
to.
Maybe that's the next thing we need to do. Maybe we need to look into people who do VIP entertainment and that sort of stuff to find out
Event management and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I honestly think what they should give Origin is science. Like at the moment, there's only 2 ships. They're both from MISC. I actually think that it should be somewhere between industry and fancy pants, because like a lot of doctors are fairly wealthy. You know, I could honestly see a ship by Origin that is just exclusive for changing your character. That's all it does is allow you to change the look of your character. So you can go in and have plastic surgery. You can, you know, get biceps, boob jobs, thigh jobs, butt jobs, whatever you want. Change your whole character. Change your DNA if you want. Like, so you can go from a white person to a black person to an Asian person to a purple person to an alien. That would be cool. Even what if down the line they actually allow you to go half Banu, half human? That would be insane. And this one ship can do all that, you know, and that's its exclusive thing, you know. And then you get you know, the 890 jump. What if you can somehow integrate it a little bit with the Endeavour, and instead of the cargo bay, what if it gets a massive greenhouse module, you know, and that allows you to grow party drugs or whatever you want to do, you know. And it's the same thing. Like someone mentioned that shop ship. What if there's a literal drug ship from Origin, you know, that it's all about, you know, they probably wouldn't want to be associated with that, but then also medical, like a private medical residence. So think of the Apollo, but it's a more bespoke one, and it could be a module of the changing your DNA one or changing your character.
When you said
one.
Origin, have you seen the film Layer Cake with Daniel Craig, where he plays the drug dealer who tries to get out of the drug trade?
I might have, but I've forgotten.
Right at the beginning, there's a wonderful little sequence where he's having like a monologue and he's talking about how the war against drugs is so antiquated, and you know, he talks about the likelihood is that drugs were going to become legalized so that people like him were going to phase out anyway, because then it will become designer drugs, and there'll be like L'Oreal drugs and Ralph Lauren drugs and, you know, Calvin Klein drugs, and it'll all be designer. That's exactly what I saw when you said.
I instantly
Origin Drugs Lab.
I instantly just thought of, you know, maybe it's Maybelline.
Yeah. Maybe she wants it. Maybe it's crystal meth. Yeah, it's absolutely.
Oh dear, we're terrible people. We are terrible people. Oh dear. But yeah, I don't know. I just like to see a little bit expanded. Like, and I can't see why there can't be an Origin ship that's like the Genesis as well.
Yes,
you know, something that holds off a bunch of people.
Something that's really good is that Star Wars Galaxies had a profession exactly like X is talking about called image designer that let you change your appearance, and role players absolutely loved it. Do you know what? We've got to give a shout out to SWG at this point, I think. What I loved about SWG was just how much of the game there was. Like, you logged in as a new player, as I did, and you know, I caught up with friends who were already in the game, and they were trying to explain what it is I could do, and I was like, dude, this is going to take me years to learn. And that made it really exciting. It's like, oh look, a game I can't learn in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think that's the other counterpoint to this game, though, is there's no levels. So you can just jump in.
Yeah.
One of my pet hates with almost any MMO is you're going to grind for 2 weeks so you can play with your friends. And that's a huge turn-off to a lot of people, because I don't like playing solo. I talk to a lot of people these days, and they don't like playing with other people. They just don't. They want to play on their own. Or they don't want to play on their own. They just want to play with other people. Opposite what I actually said. Sorry, I got my tongue tied. But you get my point. They just want to interact with other people. They're doing it a short amount of time, and they want to socialize. I don't play single player games anymore. I think the last single player game I played was Cyberpunk, and before that it was probably The Witcher. You know, I don't actually no. I also did play the Riftbreaker. That was the other one I played. But it's they're few.
So I heard you talk about Cyberpunk.
Yeah. So yeah, they're few and far between. I just don't play single player games. I much prefer interacting with people.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm right there with you on that. Yeah, it's it's an interesting one. So if you're going to pin me down for the alien thing, alien larger ship, maybe a carrier, likely an industry ship.
Yeah,
but something hopefully as unique as the Battling Merchantman currently feels. Because why else would you do alien if it was something that felt like every other ship? Yeah.
I'm just reading what Sandgroper said there in chat, where he says, so many people just like sitting in a turret or even shuffling the group around. Believe it or not, my favorite thing to do in Battlefield is just get a chopper, have people load into my chopper, fly across and just drop them across cap points, and then just keep flying around the cap points, dropping people off like a mobile spawn. I just love doing it, and that ship doesn't even have guns. I just like, and I'd be dodging rockets, and I just found that really fun, and I wasn't even shooting back. It was just like dodging other people shooting at me. I found that incredibly entertaining. But maybe I'm a weirdo, but, you know, whatever.
Armor for me. Being that pilot, the transport pilot who comes in 3 meters off the deck to get guys out of a really bad situation. There is something, Riglo, get to the chopper. Literally that.
Yep.
You know, but being that dude who flies in where everyone else has failed and getting the guys out, that is just more. And the other thing is, and Inferno pilots and Ion pilots will enjoy this, I'm sure, is the other side to that is being the A10 who is watching the infantry guys about to be overrun, you know, and they're on the radio, they're desperately calling for it's people, you know, if we don't get help now, we're going to die, you know, we really need help, you guys need to sort it out. And you do that A10 gun run, you know, you do the fountain of Bert out of the front end. You know, and you've got guys on the radio, players going, if it wasn't for you guys, we would have just been overrun then. That is so satisfying in a multiplayer environment. In like the AI, so yeah, that was scripted. But when you pull that off in the multiplayer, that's just... It's some of the best gameplay. It's why in Armor, I became a UAV controller. For a long time, I would do, bird. You know, being the UAV guy who was dropping GBUs through the turrets of tanks to try and support the infantry as they pushed. That sort of stuff is some of the most satisfying gameplay I've ever had.
I don't think you can underestimate... I'm just thinking here of the simulation running in the background too. I just don't think that can be underestimated too, because like the logistical supply chains that are going to be required and all that stuff. You know,
exactly that.
And the cool thing is, you know, players can do that if they want, and they cannot do that if they want. I think that's the really cool thing about this game. It's going to feel a lot more lived in, or a lot more real because of the simulation.
Can I also shout out to Mad Teapot, who says earlier on, I apologise for missing this. He says, I want to go on raids in Vandal space and steal stuff like that. And then completely out of left field, he goes, and I want to have my own zoo. So yeah, good luck going hunting that Yeti thing that they keep showing.
This is my Vandal.
You know how that goes.
I keep him in his cage. His name is Barles.
I mean, that for gameplay, like the whole whichever of the Star Wars movie it is, when they're trying to transport the monsters on the Millennium Falcon or whatever ship it was, you know, and they're like, we're being invaded, just open all the cages, let's see what happens.
That was The Force Awakens, and it was the ship that took the Millennium Falcon, but I was their ship, that one. After that, while they were looking for the Millennium Falcon, but I know the one you're talking about. And those big things with the tentacles and stuff, I remember them.
Yeah, let's just hide in here till it's all over, till the screaming stops. But yeah. Right.
Makes you wonder how they actually caught them in the first place. Anyway.
Yeah, right. A lot of cheating, I would imagine. We seem to have come to the end of the questions in chat, guys.
Well, we've got about... We usually go for about 3 hours, so there's 19 minutes left. But yeah, we'll do one must call for questions. But if not, I'm happy to wrap it up here. So if we don't get any more questions in the next minute or so, we'll wrap it up. But I'm coming up to where I was going to park anyway. So
also, not one single question about X's beard. I'm shocked.
Why? Because I shaved it. Yeah, it does look different. I look so much babyface, but I've also got the new lights too. But so yeah. But now you can clearly see the bags under my eyes from lack of sleep.
I don't think you shaved it. I think you just stood out in a strong breeze and most of it just fucked off.
Like dandruff, yeah, just molted off.
Yeah. You let the cat in and it licked most of it off your face.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Mad Teapot, yeah. It says, with his zoo. I used to have a bigger crew. Okay, good. Hopefully that was through capturing, not because you forgot to feed them and it was like, let's draw straws.
I thought they just ate. I thought they just ate each other. It was cannibalism.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Sebastian or Seb Astian says, "I saw that the Hollow is coming out soon. What is the timetable for the release?"
Oh, that's what I'm. Give me. We'll talk about that in about once I land and get inside, because that's what I wanted to show you on the roadmap. That's what I've That was one of the things I wanted to talk about.
Okay, cool.
Just give me a minute. We'll talk about that.
Yes. So Riddick says, "How about not nerfing every ship because of light fighter pilots complaining?" Yes.
AKA streamers.
Light fighters tend to have a mechanical problem, which is known amongst military mechanics and engineers as sand in their vagina. So yeah,
that's a technical term, right? That's a technical term.
What are the chances that I can get the Inforunners channel suspended for a week for using not safe for work terms? What do you reckon?
I don't know.
And then Crystal King says, "Could we make a vote for all Inforunners to grow a devil beard, dude?
He can't grow. He can't grow one. With that. And have you seen some of the baby face? Yeah. Actually, you got quite hairy actually when you got back from
Thanks, mate.
From your trip. Yeah, you had a bit of facial. I was like, oh wow, he is a man.
Oh wow! Just because I've got a cracking pair of tits. All right, just stop it.
Yeah,
you monster.
Yeah, that's all good. All right, let me park the ship and then I'll show you what I want to show on the roadmap.
So Lem says very quickly, when do you think we will see the first images of the 600i work? The plan work seems to have been done per the roadmap.
When they're ready for it, I think Invictus, I am going to talk about what I was going to talk about because this is going to come into it as well. So if you actually go on to the roadmap, I've just realized I'm not on the roadmap page, so I'm just gonna. Nope, it
pro streaming right here, guys.
Hang on, and boop, there we are. We're on that one. So if you go to Robert Space Industries, not StarMap roadmap. One of the things I noticed, I was looking at earlier today, this morning, while I was waiting for you to get your shit together, is the only thing that is not done is the 2 ships and vehicles. So
Scorpius and the Hollow.
So I was actually expecting to see this around Invictus. So and we do know that 317 is a part of the patch. I actually think they're going to hold that off until Invictus, which is only 2 months away. I think they'll deliberately hold off the Scorpius to try and increase sales. So as it goes,
I think they pretty much said as much, didn't they?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So this here, again, it'll just be a cargo ship akin to the kind of like an Aurora or a Mustang, but I think the difference is you'll visually see it on the outside, where you don't visually see that on a Mustang. So it'll be a cargo ship, but you can't walk around your cargo. You can EVA around it, but that'll be it. And I think it'll just be standard cargo crates at the moment. So they'll jerry-ring something very quickly because again, the net patch after that, it's all going to change again. So I don't see them putting a lot of work into it for one patch. It seems like a lot of work for one patch. So they'll keep it, fairly simple. And that's probably why it's not finished, because they have to do some things just for this patch, where they were originally planning to have it come out with the cargo refactor. So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard more of the Scorpius, to be honest. And I think it's because that is where we'll hear it between when the patch actually hits and Invictus. That's all. There's your ISC shit right there. There'll be at least a whole show on the Scorpius. I guarantee it. But yeah, Yeah. As for ships and vehicles that will probably, we've kind of already talked about those, didn't we? So yeah, the bomber, some kind of vehicle. It's pretty standard now, the vehicles, the sub 100. So you probably get a vehicle, you'll get the Star Bomber, and then something larger. I'm just hoping it's something with a bit more meat on the bones. That's not just another combat ship, because I honestly think there's going to be a turning point where the combat ships just stop because there's so damn many of them. Yeah. And it's like fighters. There's way too many fighters in the game now. Way too many. But they do it because they're easy, you know, and they can turn them around with just one person in like 12 months. Whereas as soon as you get to something bigger, like a Constellation, it requires 2 people and it takes them 12 months. You know, so it's just it's the nature of development things. We're getting them now rather than later. Anyway. Is there anything else on there, or are we all kind of done?
No, I think the last one is banning maximum this year, question mark.
No, next year. Too big. Look at what happened with the Carrack. Carrack took 18 months. I think, and this is bigger than that. It's Alien. Look at all the trouble they had with the Defender, you know, and that was a fighter. That thing got delayed. That took like 2 years to do. You know, so yeah. I'd be expecting the same. What about you?
I would be optimistic. I'm going to say the anniversary sale.
What the hell? My camera's
right at the end of the year. Let's go with that.
My camera just totally died. Let's fix that. That was weird.
It's a really sexy face you're pulling, by the way.
Thanks.
At the end of it. Yeah.
Anyway, it's back. Yeah, I had a lot of troubles with the camera over the week, but hopefully they're fixed, because I've managed to get it working now through a USB hub, so I can actually switch between the 2 PCs without having to unplug everything and plug everything back in. It was a nightmare, but yeah, it looks like it might be fixed. Anyway, all right. Well, with that, is that any more questions, or we done?
I think we are pretty much there.
Yep.
Yeah, if we're getting the Scorpio Sally, it would suggest we're getting another straight-to-flyable ship from Victus. Possibly getting both anyway. When do you expect to see the refinery ship if it ever comes?
Do you know, a straight-to-flyable vehicle like the X1, I wouldn't rule that out at all either. Yeah. We also know the refinery ships on the cards as well. But I'm going to be honest with you, with what I'm seeing with the cargo refactor and stuff like that, I think the refinery ship is anniversary sale. I think that'll be pushed back to the flight-ready ship for the anniversary sale. Because then, think about it, you've had the cargo refactor come out, you've had ship-to-ship refueling, and now they can turn on refinery for the Starfarer and refinery for that at the same time. So I honestly think that's the end of the year, unfortunately, for that one. Yeah, and again, it's generally more military focused. So yeah, maybe there is a more military ship coming. Quite honestly, I can't tell you what it is, but I'd love to be something more like E-Warfare, at least a skew of combat, rather than just more of the same shit. But yeah, a flight-ready combat ship is highly bloody likely. I think it'll be the Star Bomber. If anything, the Star Bomber will be straight to flyable. Because we've already got the bombing for the A1, the A2. It's just basically another ship, but it drops smaller bombs. There's very little work to do there, and it can go straight into the game.
Yeah.
You know, cool to see a mission go with it though. Something like they give, you know, you've got to get on a vehicle and you can't go into a certain area because it's cut off from, like, there's, you know, something that stops your ship working. Kind of like what the Constellation in that video they did many years ago. And basically you've got to drive, and then it gives someone else a counter mission, but they can drop bombs. They can't fly into it, but they can drop bombs in there, and they start trying to bomb you while you're escorting a VIP back or whatever. That'd be pretty mad. I think more quests that make people interact is a good thing. So yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that then, if you like our content, dislike if you dislike it. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this stuff. Leave us your comments too. Let us know your thoughts on the St. Patrick's Day sale. I think it's very, very lackluster. I do find it really weird that they went to limited. I don't know about you, but I found that really weird, and it went Origin skew as hell. I think that's very telling that they were trying to sell more Origin ships because they can't sell them at Invictus because they're not military. But they're obviously, they make a fair bit of money through the Origin ships because, like, why wasn't there any, well, I'm going to say any, but why wasn't it RSI Day? Why was it Origin based? You know, why wasn't there more cargo ships in there? Like, why wasn't it a missed day sale with all the hull series? There's questions I bring up there because it's basically Invictus, and it's only for stuff that's military based. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, want to back some Patreon? Do that too. Helps us buy gear and stuff. I can't make badges look more attractive, but I do try. So yeah, we'll try. We'll get him a makeup kit. Maybe we can, you know, that Marge shotgun that Homer made. We'll get you one of those. The makeup gun.
I'm just going to break his camera.
Yeah. All right, with that, everyone, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Friday. There will be an episode this week as well. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Badges about that. He maybe never wants to talk to me again after those comments, but we'll see. All right, is there anything you want to say before we head off, Badges?
No, just thank you very much. It's always fun to interact with you guys, and you know, if you see us hanging out in Discord, in the general channel, and you feel like popping by and saying hi, please do.
Yeah, we do pride ourselves on being rather approachable. Yeah, or as approachable as possible. So yeah. All right then. He's been Badges. I've been Execute, and we'll catch you next time, I guess.
Made.
You are so drunk, sir. You can't hang on your liquor.